And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire here at Plus One EXP is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. Yeah, sorry, disappointment, Chan. We were a couple minutes late getting going. That was my fault. Everybody else was here and ready on time, and I had to move some dibbly-doos around on the back end. But thanks for being here with us if you're watching live, or if you are watching later. The most fun way to help great players find amazing designers is to just sit down with those designers and play their games, and that is exactly what we are doing today. We are playing Cloud Empress, which is a science fantasy, ecological science fantasy, using the Mothership 1E Panic Engine. By Watt, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and a little bit more about Cloud Empress?
Thanks for having me. Nice to see you all. And I am a indie ttrpg designer. Cloud Empress is a game coming to Kickstarter on Tuesday. Very excited about that. As you mentioned, it's a expansive Nausicaa-inspired science fantasy setting for Mothership, and it's a campaign setting. So it'll be sort of this larger world that folks can take entire journeys through with some alternate classes, some new weapons, some new spells, which we'll talk about in a bit, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of people who are really excited to play this one, to watch this. But we also had some folks who were excited to play this, including me,
Awesome.
And hopefully everyone here. But Christian, I knew was going to be at the top of that list. Christian, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online?
Yes, hello. I am Christian Sorrell. My pronouns are he, they, if we want to drop those two. Most people would probably know me online as Meat Castle Gameware. I am predominantly so far a Mothership creator as well. I made the Bloodfields Black Star Station, as well as like some pamphlets like the Mole Empire had one, and there's a Goblin on the Loose in Icarus Station. I like really long titles. Anytime I'm on one of these, I realize that. So mostly Mothership. Do some other stuff too. Just put out a little horror adventure, but a writer, editor in the space, do freelance work, that kind of thing. But I have been following Cloud Empress since the earliest stages, and I'm very excited about it. I actually got a chance about a week ago to read through all of the current state of it and was very excited. So when you dropped that this was going to be a game I could play, I had to get in. Awesome. Both as a Mothership fan and a Watt fan.
Yeah, awesome. And again, lots of excitement in the chat. Like I said, disappointment chance here. ZW Garth, a player and big fan on the stream. Viditia Violetti is in the chat also. All really excited to hear about Cloud Empress. Lots of curiosity about the game, the setting, and everything else. So excited to have all you here with us. But let's keep on meeting our crew. Rue, good to have you back. I listed our actual play that you and I got to do of Slayers as one of my favorite games I got to play last year. So really glad to have you back here with us. Why don't you tell people a little about who you are and what you do?
I have to find the mute button. Hello, everyone. I'm Rue. My pronouns are she, her. I do a lot of different things in TTRPG. I do game design, writing, editing, stream producing, and every once in a while I am on actual plays kind of all over the place. My usual residency is in All Nerds Here, but we are in a hiatus currently. Yeah, and I guess I have only played Mothership once. I don't do too much game design in that space, but I do love a lot of the different modules that come out for it. I kind of tend to just casually follow those and pick them up as I see them. And Cloud Empress sounds amazing, so I'm really, really excited to get into it.
Awesome. Glad to have you here with us. And then last but not least, we've got Laura Turner. Laura, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online.
Hello, I am Laura Page Turner, she, her. I also do RPG stuff, a lot of it, in lots of different ways. I am Glaive Guizarm Games, so if you want to find strange games about Oscar Wilde plays or customizing your genitals, go to glaiveguizarm.com. And I am also not tremendously a mother, or not, excuse me, not tremendously a Mothership player, but if there are two things I love, one, it's clouds, and two, it's empresses. So I am hyped to get a little bit of both here.
Awesome. Anytime we play a game, especially when we're playing with new and different folks, we always start with just kind of talking about the tools we use to keep ourselves on track and make sure everybody stays comfortable on our stream, unless the system we're using suggests otherwise. We use lines, veils, the X card, and we have an open door policy. Lines and veils kind of to cover the content that we will use in the game. Lines are things that may happen in the world of the game, but do not happen in the course of our play of it. They are things that are off limits. We have a strong line against sexual violence and sexual coercion here on the channel. We also, veils are things that may happen in the course of play, but we touch on them lightly, only approach them with certain action, check in as we go, just see how everybody's doing whenever those issues or topics come up. And then the X card is the ability for anybody at any point in time to say X. We'll pause the game, we'll identify what the issue is, but people don't have to explain why they don't like it. We'll pull that out and we'll go in a different direction, updating our lines and veils if we need to. With that said, does anybody have any lines or veils they want to add off the top? Or what, is there anything that people should be aware of maybe in this setting or in this adventure that's potentially going to come up?
Sure. Yeah. So some content warnings. There are going to be some giant cicadas. So I know some folks get a little freaked out by bugs. That's going to be happening. We'll see how things go, but it can be a somewhat violent game. I try to lean away from graphic descriptions of violence as just a general preference of mine. Shouldn't be any sexual content that's at least planned on my end of things. And I'm trying to think of other stuff that might come up. Some body horror, some blood and gore, but again, I don't tend to describe those things too detailed.
Does anybody have any additional lines or veils they want to toss out?
Oh, I do. I am an anxious parent, so I don't like it when kids about the same age as my kid are in danger or getting hurt. So I'd like to veil any under 10s in dramatic danger.
I love it.
And we'll talk about character creation, or we'll introduce our characters, but there is sort of a green character age, and that is really intended to be sort of 16, 17, 18. So the intention for that is a teen about to make their way into the world rather than a young child.
That's cool. You can do whatever you want to teens.
I have the same. Yeah, with a young child now, things are scary. So I like to.
Yeah, awesome. Any other ones? Cool.
The channel standards are pretty much my standards.
Yeah,
so.
good. And again, remember those other tools. Open door policy also just means that we are real people with real needs and have real lives going on outside of the small little section of screen that you can see. If we need to get up, move away, take a break, talk to somebody off screen, eat, drink, do any of those kind of things, we will, because we're real human beings who want to take care of ourselves. And hopefully you're a real human being who wants to take care of yourself also too. So be good to yourself while you're watching. If you're one of our new upcoming robot overlords, welcome, be kind. With that said, I'm going to hand things over to to take us into Cloud Empress.
Sure. So we will be playing the introductory module. It is included in the rulebook, which will be continually free. So you can pick that up on my itch.io now, and it'll be in the Kickstarter campaign as well. So it's a great way to start a campaign of Cloud Empress or just as a one-shot. And what is occurring, we are starting from a sort of cloud city that's a moisture farmer, moisture farm where there are these royal folks there. We're traveling down through this thick, dense set of smog and acid rain and all sorts of stuff to head to the polluted farmlands below. And so that's where we'll find our characters at the start of their journey. I'll picture for you a old ship, ancient technology by the standards of the current present time in Cloud Empress. It looks somewhat organic, but it's made out of this sort of ceramic metal, bulbous, strange shaped. And you can tell by the look of this ship as it's sailing down slowly through the clouds on the wings of these almost dragonfly-like electrical panels that this ship has seen better days. It has cracks on it, it has wear on it, and it looks as if it's been repurposed dozens of times for different uses. Towards the bottom part, you'll see a small scout thopter, a small sort of escape vessel that's sort of moving its way down. But the ship is going very slowly, very deliberately, and sort of circling down and down and down through a very long journey to the earth below. We'll start by introducing our characters. I don't know, I'll just start from top to bottom, but Rue, if you'd like to introduce your Cloud Empress character.
Yeah, I can go first. So my character's name is Rye. I'll put it in our chat just so for simplicity's sake. Pronouns are she, they. They are old. Their age is old. They are a courier. They've been doing it for a decent amount of time, not necessarily like their entire career, but for a good portion of their life, this has been their main job. And then are we also doing our answers to our questions here as well? Okay.
So I've asked the players, just for context, we're making this journey down. You have a pretty important reason to make that journey. It is sort of the springtime in the lore of the world, and this is when the giant cicadas of the world start to activate. It is still early in the spring, so it shouldn't be too much dangerous of a journey, but there is some risk involved even with the clouds that you'll be traveling through. The other piece is travel is fairly expensive. It's a small world with limited resources. So the players, the characters have traded something to travel along. There's no unified currency in Cloud Empress, so folks are bartering and giving goods to one another, passing goods in order to pay for different things that they need. So Rue, why is Rye traveling, and what did Rye trade to make it down?
Yeah, Rye is pretty not much of a risk taker, so normally this would not be something they're into, but in their kind of just in general, but also especially in their old age, they kind of have a big FOMO kind of life where they're just like, I don't want to miss out on an experience that I could have had. Maybe there'd be something cool, even if it's super scary. So they're reluctantly on this because they're like, oh, but I can't not go. This could be my last chance. What if this is my last season out here? So they're kind of just on it because they don't want to miss a chance to kind of explore a little further out of the Cloud City. And for barter, they like over the years, they've collected a number of like lost letters and packages that have items in them. They never open them. They just have like collected them over the years. They have to keep their like courier's honor, so they don't open lost letters. But a lot of them have like little trinkets and things in them. You can usually feel like there's something within the package, and they've just given them all away. They tried to attempt to haggle a little bit and be like, oh, here's these two. They have some really big, it feels kind of like a gemstone in here. And then just slowly, like they had to give away every package that they'd saved. Some that they were really like, one day I'm going to open this and it's going to change my life. And now they're all gone.
That's great.
So someone else got that.
So I imagine I'll just sort of place your characters to start with, and then you'll have a lot more agency. But I imagine Rye on the lower deck, surrounded by these large cases of water, and Rye's sort of peeking out, maybe out of the window, but maybe holding belongings, a little nervous about the journey ahead, but still trying to peek a little bit out, whereas the upper deck is sort of exposed to the air and a little bit more risky and dangerous. So maybe we'll pass it over to Laura for your character introduction.
Yes, hi, hello. My character is Isilbraid the Nobody. And she is green. She is a teenager. She, her. And she is I've said she is a sellsword. She's really more of an aspiring sellsword. This is in fact what brings her onto this ship. She's not called the Nobody for no reason. She has no legendary deeds, no great efforts to report. So she's going down to the surface where the danger is to make a name for herself. And in order to barter passage, because she's not particularly clever, she did give away her guns. Which means that all she has to her name right now are the rags she is wearing, a couple of hand bombs, and a tired old donkey crab who she is traveling with, whom she has named Wind Rider.
Wind Rider the donkey crab.
Mm-hmm.
And, I could see Isilbraid being kind of interested in, or an inciting incident for the entire story, is the Cloud Empress has gone missing. She's traveled from somewhere in the clouds to somewhere below, but people aren't sure about her motivations or if she was taken by an enemy faction. But folks do know that the Cloud Empress has the ability to grant wishes. So whatever someone's heart desires, the Cloud Empress could grant into reality. And so there is this sort of both honor and excitement about maybe potentially saving the Cloud Empress, but also the, rich reward of your heart's desire, something really magical happening from the wishes that might be granted.
Oh, I will save that Cloud Empress. Oh, yes. It shall be done.
And I imagine, and you can tell me if you disagree, but I imagine Isilbraid might be kind of on the deck itself, looking around, surveying the horizon, and dreaming big dreams.
Oh, front of the ship, full Titanic Jack pose. Yeah, 100%.
And then Tony, you're next on my left, so why don't you introduce your character?
Can I go after
Sure.
Christian?
Yeah, Christian, why don't you let us know who you're playing with?
Yes, I am playing Stelmer Rook, known as the Judge, probably not to anyone here, but among his family. He, him pronouns. He is an old lordling, which I just rolled randomly, but I was hoping would be the combo, because I think I love that. I love that combo. And yeah, I mean, he has, I think visually he looks, why is he coming down here? Basically, he is very book smart, studies. He was like the scholar in his sort of family estate, never really left, very bookworm his whole life. And his slightly older brother recently died, and his brother was the big like military, adventurer of the family, and always disagreed with him that the life he read about in books was not how life actually is. And he agreed to go sort of on a pilgrimage of sorts for his brother. And so he's basically coming to see, is the real world like what I've read all my life into my old age? And he traded his family saber for a ticket and the used revolver that he has. And his outfit is very like, he looks like an old guy who dressed up for how he thinks adventurers should look. He's wearing like a duelist. He's got duelist threads. He's got a revolver. He's got a crest like on his belt. Very like, but he doesn't have the like body shape or look of that otherwise, right? Like imagine if I dressed like Han Solo and I was out and about, you would be like, that guy can't pull that off. That kind of a thing, I think, is what he's got going on.
And for some lore context, I'm just kind of thinking, because it's a very evocative character, something you can make a decision around. It is typical that a younger sibling would have a pretty difficult life. A lot of the affordances and good things in life are really provided for the older sibling in the clouds and with lordlings. They inherit the family's best crests, the best objects, the best weapons, all those kind of things. So it sounds like maybe Stelmer had a more positive relationship with his brother, or not. That's something maybe we can explore, though. And any thoughts on where Stelmer might be? We have our top deck and our lower deck that folks will primarily start at. Any thoughts on that, Christian?
I think that, he's wanting to face this head on, but I could see him probably being more of a lower deck. If there's are there portholes, anything like that? I could see it being like that. That is a lot of excitement for him. He wants to believe that he would be the up on the deck against the rail, but he's not ready for
peeking through. There's a large stairway down the middle, and so maybe peeking out every once in a while, but maybe near Ride in the lower.
Still watching out the window with a journal, that kind of thing, kind of still being studious despite his best efforts.
Great. And then Tony, last but not least.
Yeah, I've got, my character is Tremere, the demon of the languid wastes. Okay. I was like, I like all these titles, but I can't flip back and forth long enough, so I'm just gonna write a weird long thing.
I love that.
Name. He is a magician, and I have a walking staff, traveler's clothing, an ancient charm bracelet, and a lantern hanging off the end of my staff as well. Well, some pouches kind of around my my waist. I have gone down this because I have been sent by Stelmer's family. Wait, is it Stelmer? Christian, what's your character's name again? Say it for me. Stelmer. I've been sent by Stelmer's family to keep an eye on him during this process, and so which is why I made him protection, because I was like, I'm just going to attach myself to the lordling character. And whenever anybody asks me what I paid to get here, I just say, oh, I killed someone. And then I laugh in a way that makes everybody immediately uncomfortable. No one's sure whether it's true or not. But that's what I tell everybody anytime they ask.
Very cool. Very cool. And we could talk a little bit about it. I know, Tony, you had maybe a question or two about the magic system, but that is sort of one of the defining features of Cloud Empress.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I didn't read as much about it yet because of getting ready for stream, all the different things. But I think it is a good thing for people to hear, because it's not something that is in Mothership normally. And so this is operating under the Panic engine and is kind of is a hacker alternate version of Mothership. Let's talk a little bit about magic, let everybody know, including me, how it works.
Sure. Well, for me, the wizard mage kind of thing is my ultimate power fantasy. But I find power fantasies sort of uncomfortable and some concerning things about too many power fantasies in my media. And so with magic and some of the other really powerful elements of the world of Cloud Empress, there's usually a consequence attached. So the two things that limit magic in this world, first, there is this substance chalk. It looks and behaves a lot like the normal substance chalk that we have in our world, except it has extreme magical properties. So similar to Spice and Dune or some other magical agents, by ingesting chalk, by throwing chalk, by spreading chalk, by drawing this chalk, folks, particularly magicians, but other folks too that learn spells, can create things from alternate dimensions. And so the chalk is sort of a conduit to other worlds. This is sort of the psychic hub of the universe, as it turns out, due to some reasons we may or may not explore later in the setting. But the other piece of chalk is that it is gathered from the husks of the large cicadas below. So the cicadas have a life cycle that we may or may not get into in this adventure. There may be some characters that willing to talk a little bit about that with you all, but the empty cicada husks have this residue that then can be sort of processed and turned into sticks of chalk, hunks of chalk. The ancient world, thousands of years before, used this technology for many great things. The ship that you all are on uses chalk crystal generators. So it's sort of our Final Fantasy crystal thing there. But it is sort of a great use of power. That technology has been lost to time, although folks still hold on to the remnants. So in gameplay, you'll be using limited amounts of spells based on a resource. And then typically there's some consequence associated, sometimes humorous, sometimes more serious. But whenever you cast a spell, there is usually some kind of drawback or negative consequence to that, which we will probably explore in this adventure.
Cool. Love it. I'm excited about it. Can't wait to find out. I've got a couple of cool spells, including reading minds and animating vegetables.
Awesome. I was hoping you'd roll that animate vegetables. And where would you imagine Tremere on the ship?
Near Stelmare, but not obviously looming about him.
So kind of watching from a distance, maybe.
Correct.
All right. Well, the ship is making its journey downward when you hear someone running down the stairs, tripping once or twice. Isilbraid, you see this figure head down, and you recognize this person as Onion. They use they, them pronouns, and they are the first mate of the ship. And they sort of helped you get accommodated and ready. But they are coming down to this lower deck to sort of check on everything and make sure everything's okay. The journey has just sort of begun. We've been in the air maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And so they're just making sure these large tanks of water, which you'll see sort of surrounding this lower deck, making sure they're all strapped down properly and checking on everything. And they sort of approach Stelmer and Rye, and in kind of awe, because they are, you can tell by their outfit, they're wearing some sort of pretty plain coveralls, not the best clothing that you've ever seen. And they have sort of this wide-eyed, eager look to them. And they ask, is everything up to your expectations?
I kind of look around the cabin again. It's been quite nice so far. Perhaps a little smoother than I anticipated even.
Oh, great. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind mentioning that to Captain Stello at the end of your journey, that I'd really appreciate that.
Of course. It's been great so far. I expected a ship this old to be a little bumpier of a ride.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And you, Rye, journey, everything going okay?
And they're like just looking nervously around, like they like expect someone to come out of the shadows, even though there's not really anybody else around us. And like kind of just hugs everything like a little bit closer to them, like their pack. They're just kind of shifting it so it's even closer to them. Yeah, everything's all right. There's a little bit of a draft in the lower decks. If I could speak to someone about that, it's really kind of cold, and I'm not, I've just got pretty simple clothes, and they like adjust what looks like kind of scrappy clothes on the outside, but every time they adjust a little too much and you see like nicer like battle casing and stuff like underneath, that they're like clearly trying to like cover up, like, no, someone's gonna take this from me. I better look like I've got nothing. So every once in a while you see like just like a little peek of like much nicer material underneath their clothes.
And you actually hear a whistling too, as you mentioned. There's actually sort of a whistling noise. There are some minor cracks and things in the ship that are a little concerning to Rye. Captain Stello's not real thrilled about hearing criticism about the ship. I've noticed a number of things, and every time I bring them up, it's not very helpful. I would just, I'll do what I can to get you some blankets. And Onion turns and sort of hurries off.
So when Onion turns around, I have moved right behind Onion physically. With very
jump scare style.
100%. Like Onion does not know that I have moved behind them, and they turn around and slam into me.
Well, you should watch where you're going, sir.
I'm so sorry. Oh, are you? Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Are you a magician?
Does it matter?
Oh, of course it matters.
I think Rai comes up a little and is like, it's really not polite to ask a person's career
And-
path in your first meeting.
Onion
If-
slowly starts turning and sort of looking at your packs, like just twisting side to side. I think you're a magician. That's great.
If you
Premier,
need,
it wouldn't
if-
kill you to be kind for a moment, would it?
It might. We'll probably never know. If you need help talking to the captain to get what needs to be accomplished done, let me know.
Oh, okay, that's great. Yeah, I'd love to learn some spells later or something too. I don't know if you. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go get some blankets for Rai and please holler if you need anything. The journey should only be about 2 hours, not too long. So I want to make everything as comfortable as possible. I'm new here, so again, you let Captain Stello know how he did. Really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And Onion tries to walk around you. I don't know if you let Onion pass.
Oh no, I don't move to block him at all.
So Onion kind of skedaddles around and again kind of does like this back look to see what's going on. That sounds like he's checking it, or they're checking you out. But no, they are just really impressed by
That's fine.
seeing the first magician maybe they've ever seen, and they're just really really excited. As they go up the stairs, you hear some clattering and banging from nearby the staircase towards the back of the ship. And there's an open door, and you hear some clanging and a "Ooh!"
Look back that way.
Isilbraid is always on alert for clattering and screaming and is running.
So Isilbraid's heading down to the lower deck, it sounds like.
Heck yes, we may be being waylaid by sky bandits or worse.
Isilbraid, you notice the sound is coming from the galley towards the back of the ship. The door is open, and I'm going to assume that you head into the galley. Would that be correct?
Oh yeah, I slammed directly in. I would be kicking the door down if it were not open.
And what you find is maybe a little disappointing. It is a old nun and a large figure near the nun leaning against the wall. And the older nun has dropped several pots and pans from the kitchen cabinetry. There's some built-in cabinets, sort of like a spaceship kind of thing, all built in, pretty streamlined. But several things have fallen, and she is now sort of scurrying and trying to pick those things up. Oh my word! Ah!
Are you all right? Have you been attacked? You, large one, are you the villain here?
Oh, I have been attacked by these pots and pans. Who'd ever think to leave a ship in such a condition?
Not some sort of invader in the ship or
And
violent fisticuffs here, or
the larger figure leaning shakes his head. Don't travel much, do you?
No, this would be my first, but I am prepared for all manner of invasion and piracy and banditry and treachery. I'm ready for it. I am here.
Well, don't make it your last. And Genmo, the large figure, just to describe these two folks for you, you can tell by their appearance. You may not have had direct interaction with these types of folks before, but they are wearing the robes of sort of a mendicant, some religious robes of some sort. They are pretty worn, and both of them have a unique feature to them. They're both wearing masks that almost completely obscure their faces. So the older nun has a pretty wrinkled mask of wood that seems like it's been around for several decades. You can see through the eyes and an equally aged face behind the mask. and the larger figure, who's very large and brooding, is wearing sort of a clay pot over his head, and some large fur rags and wrappings around his fists. Well, I should be seeing to the ship. And the larger figure starts to head towards the door to the galley.
I guess with some reluctance, I am going to ask the nun if she would like some help putting her pots back where they belong.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Oh, that would be wonderful. And she starts like piling pots and pans up on in your open arms. Yes, thank you. I was hoping to have a small meal before we land, but no luck.
I have no food to offer, I'm afraid.
Well, we'll see what we can scrounge up, won't we?
I think from the hallway, you can kind of hear like a little bit a ways. Is everything okay in there? It's like a very shaky voice. Like,
all dangers have been accounted for. Yes.
And you see Rai like slowly edging in, and they've got like a stick or something that they found somewhere, and they're still kind of like pointing it towards the doors. They're coming in, and they're looking away. They're like, you're sure there's nothing in there?
And the old nun pops out. Hello!
Oh my god! Like kind of swats at them accidentally.
Oh well, aren't you energetic?
Oh, can't you tell how old I am? That almost gave me a heart attack. Please don't surprise me. I hope there isn't a lot of people that like to pop out of doors on the ship.
Yes,
Like,
I
look.
suppose age hits us all differently, doesn't it? While the action in the kitchen is happening, Tremere, you seem like you are pretty observant, and you have actually noticed towards the there's sort of two doors in the storage facility, and towards the front door, the front of the ship, you've noticed actually a trail of blood leading into the front room.
Okay. I think I tell Stelmares, like, stay here, and I walk over to go check it out.
Wasn't planning to go anywhere.
What you see is a closed door. So it's one of these sort of Cermet plastic steel doors, and it is closed, and you see actually a handprint, a bloody handprint sort of on the side of the door. Like it's been, like someone has grabbed it and sort of smeared down.
Is it is it a large, small, or medium-sized handprint?
It is a medium-sized human handprint.
Okay. I mean, I open the door.
All right. What you see is a little startling, maybe not to you, but to the average person, I would imagine. And the first thing you notice is a pretty strong odor of blood and sweat and filth. And as your eyes cast forward, you see what should be a pretty pleasant observation deck used for first class passengers on the ship. In this case, though, the well tended to carpet, that's in decent enough condition, has streaks of blood leading towards a bank of couches that sit near the observation windows. And towards the observation windows, you see a figure covered in white sheets that are slowly bleeding to red and pink.
Good thing you didn't book the nice cabin and I closed the door behind me while I step in. Yeah, I'm gonna go over and inspect this body.
Sure. When you get closer, you actually see the body breathing. I didn't send for you.
Yes, but you left an invitation to anyone who wanted to follow.
You don't know the half of it.
Can I do anything for you?
Who sent you?
Who sent me? You left a trail of blood leading into the room. I
So
guess essentially you did.
Yes, I'm worried about many of the trails I'm leaving behind recently.
Yes, it seems you've made quite a mess.
You don't know the half of it. And the figure who you can identify as another lordling, with sort of somewhat royal regalia of a royal family, but it's pretty dulled, cracked, not well tended to, or well abused, I should say. And the figure looks gaunt and sweaty, and she sort of takes off the sheet that's well covered in blood, and you see a pretty big mess. It is where her right arm would be. There is a sort of cut off limb. There's nothing there, and there's quite a bit of blood from a poorly made bandage. So now you see my affair.
Yes, I don't know that I can particularly be of help here unless you want to end things more quickly than otherwise.
Well, aren't you honest? Is there
Who did this to you?
Well, I guess in many ways I did this to myself.
Well, most of us do, but in the more practical way.
Well,
Who inflicted these wounds upon you?
Some upstart lordling in a duel. I should have easily bested her, but my mind was elsewhere. And now I have my freedom, but little else.
Is there someone on board who can help you?
I don't know. I was one of the first to arrive. I hope there is, at least, or...
Tremere, you might know that. I feel like you might know that Stelmer has a crest of severed skin, which is a magical crest that lets me heal limitedly, but it is a healing crest.
I do know.
If you know that, though.
Yeah,
Up to you if you bring it
would.
up.
That seems likely. I mean, I could ask the lordling I'm here with. He might be able to be helpful, but it would put you in his debt.
Well, I'm willing to pay such a debt. And she points over to a relic rifle, this tremendously large, almost like particle cannon that she's carrying with her. It's my family's legacy, but what good is a family and what good is a legacy without a life?
I go back over to the door. I'm like, you can go ahead and come in. We may need your assistance.
Okay, look back, close my journal, get up, straighten the jacket, pull it down, that kind of thing, and walk in.
As you go through the door, the ship rocks slightly.
Take note of the bumpiness that I was surprised I hadn't noticed before. Yeah, I think as I walk into the room and see this clearly wounded lordling sitting up, I think, like a little bit of like surprise and quick sort of panic takes me over, just a little bit like looking down and being like, this is not at all what I expected.
You'll be fine.
And then
she got hurt by another one of you.
Not of me. I didn't have anything to do with this. And then I'm going to take
what I mean.
What do the crests look like? Or I mean, are they all different? Like, what's the in-universe vibe of the crest?
So crests vary in size. Most of the crests are the size of maybe a plate or smaller, like a small plate, a tea plate, and literally in sort of a crest shape. But most look like they've actually been chipped out of rock or stone. They're sort of this plastisteel that most things are made out of. So they've sort of been cut off of something, but that where they've come from is sort of lost to time. So usually they're pinned or attached to someone's shoulder or belt, somewhere on their person.
Okay, yeah, because I think I kept it sort of like over my left, the left side of my belt kind of thing. And I detach that and come over and be like, are you in danger? Is there someone coming after you now? Someone on the ship?
Not on the
Here,
ship.
and as I'm talking, I use it. I don't know what that looks like. But it heals 1d5 damage. It can't heal wounds, but it heals damage, and I can use it twice a day. So I'll use it once.
Awesome.
See how
I love that we're just
has.
making this last longer effectively for her.
Well,
I don't know. Does it strike me as like she is gonna die?
No, it looks like,
or does it look like she's lost a limb but could be saved? I still think Stelmer would imagine that she could be saved.
No, that was a player comment, not a character comment. I think it's hilarious.
It looks like the bandages, are somewhat effective, but there's just like a little blood kind of leaking, and it looks like more of sort of an immune system at this point, or that she's just really dealing with the stress of maybe a loss of blood and some other things. So you believe that you could save her, or at least significantly slow the bleeding.
Oh, okay.
And how a crest would operate is sort of held up or sort of pointed at the direction that you might do. And then you would make I believe, mind check. And you sort of focus on the intention of what you're trying to accomplish with your crest.
Okay, I will roll my mind check. So my mind is 62, and I rolled a 32, so I'm good.
And just to explain for folks that aren't familiar with Mothership, it's a D100 system. So you'll roll 2d10, and you're trying to roll underneath your stat. Anything that is the same numbers, if it's a success, that would be a critical success. If it's the same numbers and it's higher than the result that your stat, that would be a critical failure. So that would be Stelmer was successful in that. And then you'll roll the healing effect.
And crests are specific for the Lordling class. And
yes, all Lordlings carry a crest with them unless it's been taken off them at some point.
2 damage is healed.
So the wound maybe starts to slow a little bit, but you actually probably recognize at least some of the family markings on both the relic rifle and the crest that this character is wearing, and you sort of have some recognition of who this person might be, I would think. And it you kind of know her name is Sippa, but I don't think it doesn't seem like you all have interacted before. So while you all are sort of trying to apply maybe some first aid, let's cut back to Rye and Isilbraid, who's talking still to the nun Menfa. Oh, aren't you excited for the journey?
Extremely, yes.
I'm quite surprised. There are so many passengers.
Why are there more than normal? Is it the ship can't hold this many? Is that what I've heard? Some creaking in the lower decks, and I knew it was something like that.
Well, most captains aren't so brazen as to travel. It was quite a ordeal finding a ship willing to take us, given the season and the brood.
No. This is not the reassuring response I was looking
quite
for.
exciting journey. I'm so glad to share it with you. I'll do my best to keep us all in one piece.
Yeah,
so shall I. Fear not, aged travelers. I am here for you.
You hear coming from the lower deck towards the front of the ship.
That sounds dangerous. Is that a normal shipboard sound?
I can't imagine so.
Let's investigate.
The Raya's just like, I was really hoping you're gonna say that's a perfectly normal sound for this ship to make. Okay, yeah, sure. And I'm like hovering behind behind Isilbraid, just like, yeah, you whippersnapper, you go first.
So the way to get down to the mechanical deck is through a sort of like submarine ladder down the middle. So Isilbraid, you're going to go down first.
I'm 100% doing the thing where I don't actually put my feet on the rungs. I just sort of clasp the side of the ladder and slide down.
Oh my goodness.
Do you think you'd be able to do that pretty well?
Maybe. Oh, you know what? One of my skills is acrobatics, so
Okay.
I feel like.
Yeah, if you maybe didn't have that, I might make you make a body save, but I think you're well prepared to do that. So you slide on down like a pro.
Yes.
And Rye, you're headed down behind.
Yeah, Rye kind of looks really freaked out by Isilbraid did it. Is like, is that how you get down these?
That's the fun way to do it. You can do it the steppy way if you want, but
okay.
it's a lot faster the other way.
And it sounds like Isilbraid, you're maybe talking from below, like up.
Yeah.
Right as you start to climb down, you get to where your head is sort of, underneath the deck, lower deck of the ship, and you see Onion's face pop out, and it maybe startles you a little bit. Oh shit! Are you guys going down to look at that noise too?
Oh my god! Why do people keep doing this? Where are you even coming from?
Can you make a promise?
I have to hear the promise first before I can make it.
Can you promise not to scream? Don't scream or you're gonna scare everyone.
I really want to make this promise, Onion, but I can't control my body's faculties like that.
I think there's something moving on the front of the ship. It sounds kind of big. Let's go look.
Can I hear this whispered conversation down at the bottom of the ladder?
I wouldn't.
If I can,
so.
I'm vibrating with excitement.
I think you sense the the energy, and you see Onion. You probably can read Onion's facial reactions a bit, but not more than that.
All right. Then I'm like jogging in place impatiently.
And you probably start to hear this sort of clacking across the front side of the ship. You're in the sort of middle area, but you hear some pretty loud thumping towards the front of the ship. What you see?
Hurry up, guys! Come on!
So, Rye, what are you doing?
Rye's just like gingerly coming down. I think they do kind of like look down and they're like, shush, hush, stop yelling down there.
And
I'll tell you why when I get down there, and like was going slow and then realizes maybe it's like a time sensitive thing and starts going down really fast.
And Onion's gonna try to do Isilbraid like what you did. I think they saw you do that from afar, and they're gonna try, but they're not. They don't have acrobatics. So they did. They had a 32. So they slide out right down too, and they like are ready to high five you.
Yeah.
So let's cut back to Sippa, Stelmir, and Tremir, who you've probably heard more of these noises now on top of the situation you're in. Sippa's looking concerned as well.
Since I came in after the duels conversation, I'm just going to look to Sippa and be like, this doesn't have anything to do with you, right? You said this was someone else did this.
Yes. Yeah, this happened before I boarded.
That's something on the ship. Premier, do you want to see what that's about?
and I'll go over to the front of the observation deck and look down over the edge.
So what you notice is smoke. Lots of pillars of smoke coming up from a dense cloud fog, and that's quite unusual. To your mind, it indicates maybe some fires in the atmosphere, which again, quite unusual. And you see some shadows moving through the clouds. You can't necessarily, you sense some movement, but you get the sense that it's hidden by the cloud fog that you'll be entering in the near future.
Well, there's more smoke than there should be, and it appears that there is something in the clouds.
How are you feeling, Tasipa? Did that help? I mean, as
yes,
well
yes.
as you can be feeling, I suppose.
Yes, I think I'll try to find that onion and locate the medical kit. But seems like we may have pressing matters.
Why don't you stay here and make yourself comfortable?
I can.
You can. You should not.
That tries to like lean up and then just kind of slides back down a bit. As for my payment, and Tremere, Sipa hands you the relic antique rifle. If you could get me the med kit and ensure my safety, I would let you have my family's greatest treasure.
We'll see what can be done. I'd take the gun anyways. What type of weapon was this again?
This is a legendary antique rifle, and it does 3d10 damage. So it's really powerful. It's like a laser bazooka.
Okay.
That is quite a payment. Seems there's much of your life you wish to still lead.
Yes, it's my first chance in freedom, and well, maybe ever.
So there are 3 decks on the ship.
Mhm.
We are on the lower deck. Does the ship itself, from us coming in, have any form of defenses of any kind?
No.
And then, so we are on the lower deck.
That's correct.
Which deck, I'm going to guess not mechanical, which deck is designed to have the best sight lines? Like, where is...
So the upper deck is open air.
Okay.
And if you're looking at the map, room 1, you noticed as the captain's bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So that you have quite a field of view from the top. That would be the best place to see what's happening at the top side of the ship, and sort of around the ship. You, I guess, sort of hear underneath you that clacking noise, though. So it might be difficult to see from the top. And you
Correct.
kind of...
No, more so, yes. This is, yeah, I understand that seeing the bottom from the top is probably not easy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Does it
generally
sound...
speaking.
Does the clacking we're hearing, is it like a regular mechanical kind of clack, or... Yeah, it's because
it sounds like giant limbs.
Okay, because I was gonna say Isilbraid earlier mentioned sky pirates or something to that effect, sky bandits. So would I be more likely to think that it could possibly be something like sky bandits? I don't know how much of a fiction in the universe that was or not. Or would I be like, I know that we're leaving in the spring. I know that the brood is... And is that more of a known complication or not really?
I think you're probably split in your mind between maybe a giant cicada, or maybe the ship like just falling apart based on its age and care that you've noticed. So, you know, in your mind, it could just be something like the actual engine falling off, or just being pulled apart by the journey.
Yeah, I think that's probably more where I would go, because in my mind, I was already thinking like I was expecting a much worse rickety ship experience for how old I know this to be. So I think that's probably where he would side. Suppose I should look for the Tremere's going there. Perhaps I go down and see if there's something to be done about the mechanical. I don't know. It sounds like the bottom's falling off this thing. And I'll head that way if Sipa seems fine.
Tremir's like right outside the door, and he's like, "Where are you going?"
I mean, you can hear the same thing I can. Something ship's falling apart. Sounds like.
Possibly.
See if I can help. I've read, a lot about how these old systems used to work.
And the last time you fixed one was?
Well, that's exactly why I'm here, isn't it? That's what my brother wanted me to do. See how things actually work. Look, you've got your big gun. Go do your big gun thing. I'm going downstairs.
Be careful.
Nod.
Turn and head off.
I like this dynamic of Stelmer kind of having this like boy's first adventure out, even though he's like 70 in my mind. And Tremere treating him like that is very good to me.
Tremere, what are you doing now then?
I'm gonna go up to the upper deck. I'm gonna head up. I'm gonna go check in with the captain or the people in charge at this point in time.
So we'll cut back to Ryan, Islabraid, and Onion. Stelmer, you'll probably join them fairly soon. The area that you are in, once you've done high-fiving and congratulating each other, Islabraid and Onion, Onion looks pretty nervous and kind of shocked at the state of affairs. The area that leads down from the lower deck or is below the lower deck is the 4 escape pods. Looking at the 4 escape pods, I want to get the numbers right. The first one and the most prominent one that you notice is escape pod 1. They're all identical except for this one, so far as you can tell at this point. And there is quite a bit wrong with it. There is tons of shattered glass across the metal floor, and the access panel has been broken off. Wires exploded from the terminal that might be used to open it. And then you see a piece of metal, some kind of metal from somewhere, rebar or something like that, that's been jammed into one of the sort of 2 hinges that slide open to open the door. And there's a small window inside, but you are too far away to notice what's in there.
Not for long. I'm going to walk over. I want to see what's through that window.
So as you get closer, you see a body wrapped in sheets, and the sort of face and body are covered in blood, unfortunately. So why don't you go ahead and make a fear save? Roll D100, and you want to try to roll under your fear save stat.
All right. I barely succeeded at a 30 under 31. So
awesome. So what do you think? You see it's a body that's been sort of disposed of here. What would your reaction be to that, Islabraid?
Yeah, I assume like there's no evidence of moving or breathing that I can see just looking.
No.
Okay.
And it looks kind of stiff and dead, like it's sort of like bundled up as if a mummy or a corpse.
All right, then yeah, I'm going to turn around to these 2 people who have been wandering behind me for 3 minutes and I now trust with my entire life. There's been a murder, everybody. We need to investigate. Onion,
So-
can you open this door? Do you know how this door opens? Open this door.
Ryan, why don't you take a stress? I'm thinking you would be a little stressed out by that.
This is not a good joke.
I don't think you'd make a fear save yet unless you want to roll that, but I think you're too far away to be really horrified at this point. But I think if you got you're probably pretty anxious about what's closer. Onion says, oh my gosh, one of our 3 escape pods, working escape pods, that is. Oh man.
And also a body. Come, Onion, hurry.
Oh, okay. Onion's gonna make a fear save too. And Onion's rocking it. Onion got a 12. So Onion's like, oh, cool. And you're kind of like, oh my gosh. This is my mom and my dad, they said, don't leave the onion farm. Onions are a life for you. It's a safe life. But the high seas and the skies and the clouds is, this is what it's all about.
This is where the adventure is. Yeah, I know. I
was
get
going
it.
to be pissed. So, but gosh. But look, yeah, the two ways to open this thing are pretty messed up. The digital panel is all, somebody cut that open, and the manual open, it seems like they shoved something in it.
I guess Braid sort of glances side to side, make sure there's nobody nearby except for the people who she knows to be nearby. Leans in close to Onion and says, I don't think I'm supposed to be carrying these, but I have a pair of hand bombs. Do we think we can blow the doors off of this without destroying the entirety of the ship? I think we can.
And ironically, as you say that, from the front engine area, the large monk comes out, holding several of the weapons that you had traded for your passage, like bundled up. And this is at the same time that Stelmer is, almost down the ladder. So you've all sort of conjoined in this last bottom place. And
I took the steppy way down the ladder, by the way. Stelmer did not
didn't slide.
He did not even attempt it.
Not in any of the books he's read.
No. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to come into the middle of that very confused hand-on revolver at the side, probably, seeing this big figure carrying a number of weapons and a bunch of other people of various states in the glass and everything. But I'm just seeing what's happening.
What? We got some problems. The sort of large person says, the large monk.
Yeah, you are currently our suspect number 1. I'm going to insist that you drop your weapons, my weapons, the weapons, hands up against the wall, and tell us your business.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Bomb us? You're gonna blow us all up? Come on,
That's
kid.
not my first choice.
And as Genmo thinks for a second, he pulls up a pistol and holds it on all of you. So why don't everyone down there take 1 stress? Wasn't supposed to go like this. I didn't do whatever's over there, but now you're getting in my business.
And what is your business?
None of your business. He doesn't laugh. I laugh. Just don't. No one's gonna get hurt if you don't do something stupid and blow us all up.
Did you mess with the engine?
No,
Stay from like back of the group.
no, and I'm worried we don't have much time. You want to go take a look at that thing?
So I'll just be calm. I'll say, like, Onion, you have a half-dead duelist in the observation deck. Captain might like to know about that. And it seems like you have other individuals down here as well. I would like to make sure that the engine is not the cause of this clacking, because I would like to not fall out of the sky. Your problems are secondary to mine. Will you allow me to pass?
I
haven't drawn my gun or anything. I just have my hand on the hip.
He waves you through and starts to try to pull himself up, I guess, up the ladder with a gun.
With one gun out. Cooler heads prevail, and I head back.
So the thing that you first hear is just this onrush of wind. You look towards the left and you see a locker most of your weapons, even passengers that weren't trading their weapons for their passage, were commandeered for their safety of the crew. So the weapons cabinet has been ripped open. Most has been taken out except for a few flare rifles and some like minor knives and flares and things. And when you look over to the middle, you see a whirling crystal chalk that's sort of spinning with electricity. That appears to your mind, fairly normal. But the thing behind it is a large sort of cut through the ship's hull, and you see some, I guess not mandibles, but like cicada legs sort of peeking through, and you see like a giant cicada eye that's sort of vibrating. And the cicada's sort of like, look at this acting you're getting for it right now.
I like this.
You get the cicadas like pulling, like slowly, like chewing apart the core of the outer hull of the generator, the engine area. And so I would think you probably, I think you do a fear save, unless you think it would be a panic check. I'll leave it. Well, I guess you only have, you all took a stress getting a gun pulled on you. You probably
I only have one.
You probably take a stress from seeing the giant bug.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So maybe make a fear save.
Okay.
Which again is,
okay, this is juicy. So the Lordlings actually have a really high bonus to their fear save. I assume, in my mind, it's because I think I'm sort of above any real danger. I've lived my whole life. So I had a 73 for my fear stat. I rolled a 99. As you said earlier, is a fail, but then
critical fail, yeah.
A 99 and 88, things like that, is a critical fail. So I critical fail my fear save.
So I have an idea, but what do you think? What do you think Stomer would do with like the worst possible result? I guess really.
I mean, I think that it's like looking over the crystal, it's spinning with this light, it sort of him clocking like, okay, that looks good, and then seeing this, out of his shifting his eyes, this like little arms and things reaching into the hull, looks up, and then we just get like the cicada eyes coming through the hull, and he goes to like grab his gun and kind of lets out one of those like unconscious like little like yelp, and like half takes the gun out, trips back over a crate or something. I think he fully like trips, gun goes across the hull, lets out a yell. Unless you want it to be more critical than that.
The most undignified response a Lordling could have.
I think he like looks and is like good, and he's like and just like the gun flies across to the side of the hull, and he trips and falls backwards and just looks towards the group to start yelling about there being a cicada.
So why don't we cut over to Tremere, who is heading up to the upper deck. It's sort of a normal staircase that, made out of this plastisteel metal.
I'm navigating it the steppy way.
Yeah, this one is just stairs. It's
I understand. That's why I'm navigating it the steppy way.
Yeah, we have to clarify that now in any Cloud Empress
anytime
content.
we go change the level.
What you see, two small, small for what you know to be the size of the imago, the giant cicada that live and inhabit and in many ways determine the lives of the folks in the polluted farmland below. You see two juvenile, imago, and they're probably the size of like an armchair each.
Okay.
And they're sort of like looking around towards the captain's bridge doors. Like they're sort of like, they know something's going on there, and they're kind of like sort of picking at one of the doors. There's two doors that lead to the bridge. They're at the left door, sort of like picking at it. They're not necessarily like super efficient at what they're doing, but they're sort of trying to open this door up.
Cool. Probably with slightly more skill than a magician would often have. I'm going to check how much ammunition does this thing have? This gun I picked up.
So you do not see any form of
Ammunition
way for you to actually have, enter any ammunition. So,
okay, so this, whatever it is, it's internally powered in some way.
You
shape, or
do
form.
see some kind of like solar panels of some kind, or some kind of like recharging panels, but you're not sure, because this is so antique and maybe totally unique to itself. You do notice it says Hound's Catcher on it, which you think is cool, but you're not exactly sure how many times it might be fired.
I give it an admirable like and then assuming that neither of these things have seen me because they're focused on getting into this door, I kind of move there. I've come up. I'm on the deck, or I'm coming up, and so we're on the deck. They're over by the door. I've come up at whatever point you come up from below. Kind of hiding within the alcove from wherever I've come up. I'm gonna drop to a knee and take a shot at one of these things.
Okay. This thing, yeah. So one of the unique things that we'll talk about right now for Cloud Empress that I'm really excited about is the way that combat works. So in Mothership, normally you're rolling to hit. The big difference in combat, this is optional, but is a lot of fun in my opinion. We'll see how it goes. In Cloud Empress, you do not roll to hit. So there's a table in the rules that sort of talk you through it, but you are using a ranged weapon and your target is unarmed. So you will just roll 3d10 damage on the your cicada.
I love that.
And then anytime you roll a 0, that is 0 damage. It's not a miss in and of itself, but it doesn't do any damage. Anytime you roll a 9, it's an exploding die. Folks are familiar, so you'll re-roll that, and as many 9s as you get, you keep rolling. So,
okay, well, then hold on.
Oh my god, yes. I'm imagining some sort of anime, like this, like relic rifle. It's like
I did do
huge particle beam.
And like I said, I did 38 damage because I exploded twice.
Oh, so how many damage? How much damage?
38 damage.
Okay then.
Oh god. Okay.
Because I exploded twice in that situation.
So what happens? I guess, do you want to narrate it, Tony? I can narrate it.
I don't know exactly what this gun does, but if you tell me what the gun does, then I'm happy to narrate it or not.
So it's like an Akira, like
okay,
like satellite laser rifle, essentially.
Cool.
So in my mind, you just like, these things are like vaporized.
Yeah, I think like I click the trigger and nothing immediately happens, and so like I look down and check the sights again, and I notice there's like a little countdown reticle, and then I like, as I like move to pan like between the two, the entire thing like shoots off and just like comes out and slices across these two things and vaporizes them. Like I am a little bit confused about how powerful this thing was, and it's more so the action of moving that causes it to trace between the two of them than it is any actual skill at that point in time.
I think you definitely obliterate those things. The other piece, though, is I think you've hit the ship.
100%. And like that, they were trying to get in a door, and so that door is probably.
So I'm gonna roll.
Correct.
I'm gonna roll 1d10 on the ship, and we'll just see what's going on with the ship.
We'll see the captain's the cockpit explodes as.
So I got a 4. So this is sort of like the ship doesn't necessarily have a particular amount of health, but we're gonna say like a not insignificant but not major amount of damage. So I think you just carve, like there's like a beam, like a Swiss cheese hole through sort of the side of the hole, but you haven't hit anything major. Okay. The ship just now has this weird hole in it.
There's only half a mega damage.
So the other piece though is you've killed something you did not need to eat, and you drew your weapon. So you're going to take 2 stress from that.
Okay, I have a question though.
Yes.
What if I intended to eat the chalk that was in their body?
I don't think so.
Either way is fine.
It would have to be from the dried shells, and I think your primary motivation, if you want, I'll allow that, but I think your primary motivation was getting them from the ship. It wasn't.
Oh no,
like,
I 100% was looking for more chalk. I was like, sweet, I'm gonna get more chalk from these.
So you're only gonna take 1 stress then.
Okay.
There's just a sort of inherent low level of stress from firing guns.
No, and I love that. So I since 10 is the max, we start with 1. In this in Cloud Empress.
I think you just start with 0 panic.
Start with 0.
Or 0 stress.
0 stress. Okay. So okay, cool, perfect. All right.
Well, I was gonna ask as well. Did you want me to take additional stress for failing so bad on my?
Yeah, I think you should probably make a panic check too.
Okay.
You'll take so we'll
You had me take 1 for seeing it at first, but then my reaction was so bad that
you'll take anytime you fail a roll, you take a stress in Mothership and Cloud Empress. And then I think critical fails or other situations, critical fail, if you see somebody die, if you see somebody, else panic, there's a greater chance that you'll panic yourself. So why don't we see what the result of your panic roll is?
And that's just a D10, right?
Yes. And so with panic, you're trying to roll. Oh, I always get this wrong. I have it written down. So this is with the 1E rules. So I believe you're trying to roll over your current stress.
Correct.
And if you roll over, nothing bad happens. If you roll under, we're going to consult a panic table with some negative consequences.
Cool. Yeah, the way I think of it is it's like each stress like unlocks a new entry on that table, and you don't want to roll an unlocked entry on that table, basically.
Yes.
Okay, well, unfortunately, I did roll an unlocked entry on that table. I have 3 stress, and I rolled a 3.
Okay. So the panic table, you flee. So this says make a successful fear save. We already did the fear save, so we'll just skip that part. But you're going to essentially like try to book it out of there.
Okay.
Maybe even, irrationally, like off the deck. I don't know where you're going to, you might not know where you're going for quite a little bit of time.
Okay.
Probably screaming all the way.
Yeah, I think that I'm just trying to pick
randomly to find out where you end up on the deck
and get off out of the mechanical, get off the mechanical deck and away. But okay.
Quick question for no particular personal benefit. Are you too afraid to pick up the gun you dropped?
I already erased it from my character sheet.
I'm gonna put it on my character sheet now.
So I do like that.
Yeah.
I like this, imagining this shot of like the revolver sliding and hitting the edge of the deck, and then I just panic and run off, and then it's like pans to your eyes, and you go like, pick that up. Yeah, no, Stelmer did not think of it before started running.
And I would say for dramatic purposes, Rye, Onion, and Isilbraid, you do not. It's gone through the door. And the cicada is obscured by the door's entrance. So there's something horrifying in this room, but you're not entirely sure what lies beyond the gateway.
I like how you informed Onion of that also, too.
Yeah, Onion, just so you know.
Yeah, you probably just hear me yelling Imago, something about Imago.
So, right, Isilbraid, what is your response to Stelmer's hasty retreat?
Shall we go in as a group? That way no one of us gets too terrified.
Sure. I really just hope that maybe Stelmer just really doesn't know how to fix an engine, and that's just a very odd response to that, because I know how to fix an engine. I could do that. It like pulls out like a wrench. I really hope that's all that's in there.
I'm sure of it. Let's go.
So you all head in. I guess Onion's coming with. Onion's like on this high of adventure, and the cicada has now, like, the Imago has sort of burst its way through even more, and it's sort of like really interested in the core of the ship, the main generator crystal that's sort of spinning and hovering in a very impressive fashion. I think you will all need to make a fear save seeing this giant beast, because it's very evident now. It's almost made its way in, and you can tell that this is sort of a from all the stories, this is like an adult It's about the size of like a Ford Focus, is what I always reference for some reason. I might keep that in the actual rulebook. I'm not sure, but it's like the size of a Ford Focus, sort of like clawing its way through. It is jet black. It is covered in this chitinous armor, and its eyes are a blood red.
Am I still near them, or have I fled?
You should, yeah. So you should all roll on well,
I'd say it's better for them if I'm not still nearby, but they did just see me run by.
The justification for so each class has a unique trauma response similar to Mothership. Christian's mentioning that the Lordling causes disadvantages on fear saves. That's only in their presence because they know the power that the Lordling could wield in people's fates. So they do not want to screw up in front of a Lordling because there could be some punishment or societal impact or something like that. Is sort of the Lord justification. Okay. So I think you're out of the room. They don't know where you went. So why don't you both roll a fear save, and Onion's going to roll a fear save too.
Well, I failed anyway, so.
Okay. So you'll gain a stress.
Yes, as did I.
Onion got a 9. Onion's rolling on a 40 too, so that's not the best stat, but it's not the worst stat, or not the worst stat, but not the best. But yeah, Onion's doing great so far. So you've both failed. You both gain a stress. What do you think you all do in response to seeing this giant cicada that's coming ever closer to this core that's perceivably keeping the ship in the air?
I would like to shoot it with as much of my gun, as many bullets are in this gun that I found.
All right, yeah, and
it's 5 rounds.
5 rounds.
So, Rye, what are you up to?
Yeah, I think they just yell out and try to scramble, maybe not to the door because there's weird stuff going on over there too, but just sort of behind the other two, and like quickly pull something out of their bag. So I rolled for some of my equipment,
Awesome.
the spore catalyzer, and I think
Awesome.
they just pull that out. They're like, someone gave this to me in case because of this journey, so I guess I'll give this a shot and try to
Do
help.
you know what kind of spore is in there? Did I correctly put that in your loadout?
I think it just, let me double check if it's specified in there.
There are several varieties of spore in Cloud Empress that each have sort of unique effects, and so I'm not sure if I successfully told you which one you had.
Oh, it says 2 rounds of corrosive growing spores.
Okay, so that's sort of it sort of expands like foam or mold, and it has sort of an acidic effect that would melt through quite a bit of things that you're aware of.
Okay.
You're not exactly sure what'll happen in this situation, but you have a good suspicion that it would do a lot of damage.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I think
also is pulling out the 2 flare rifles, like, we've got to stop it from getting the core. So let's cut back to Tremere on the top deck before we start our combat. And Mempa has joined you in the stairway, Tremere, and sort of seen what you've done. Oh no! What have you done?
Who's Mempa again?
Mempa is the old nun with the wooden mask.
What do you mean?
I saw what you did to those poor Imago.
The Imago that were eating the ship?
They didn't know what they're doing. It's our fault for taking the ship through.
Through?
We're going through the swarm. You've enraged the Imago.
Why are we going through the swarm?
Well, the swarm is in the skies. It's the Century Brood. Weren't you aware?
No.
Yeah. I'm afraid few were. The smoke on the horizon tells of the others who have made the foolish mistake of traveling through. I thought I would be able to guide us through more safely.
So it's your fault.
Well,
And I turn and start walking over to look at the remains of these creatures on the ground, if there are any. I vaporize them, right? There's
I
nothing
think
left.
like there's like a blackened leg, and maybe you probably don't know what to do with this, but you think like maybe there's some I don't know.
Oh,
You're just not
I
sure.
took chalk collecting as a skill, 100%.
Oh, okay. So you know that you could potentially like boil this down using a small oven
Okay.
furnace and get a little bit,
A little
of,
bit
chalk
of chalk out of it. Yeah, not the amount I wanted, but yeah, no, I'll take that leg.
So you have like a single burned leg, and Mempha scolding you now from behind and just sort of like sitting on the deck, like weeping a little bit, like, oh no, it's not supposed to be how it happened.
As I go to open the door, I just tell her to watch the hole shot in the deck. And I knock on the door to the captain's.
The door slides open, as if you're being let in. You see a fairly typical, I don't know, like captain's quarters / bridge. But the figure in the chair looks a little off to you. You did not meet the captain, or you did, but only briefly. And the picture you're seeing now is fairly different. It's a figure in a chair facing the glass screen or the glass window. But what you see that's quite unusual is several like large cables coming from the person's back that you did not notice when you met the captain briefly in your introductions. Looks like they're sort of hooked into the ship in a certain way that is not at all normal.
I do know this is not at all normal.
No, it looks like some kind of ancient technology that people would not need to. And you see this, the captain still has hands piloting the ship, so you don't think necessarily, you're not sure like what's fully going on. But
well, yeah, because I was gonna rush over and just slam him into a wall before I heard about cables at all. That was gonna be I was gonna be threatening. I think I am actually kind of caught flat-footed as I'm like halfway to him, ready to inflict a form of violence. Then all of a sudden, think better of it. How disconnected is mysticism from technology in this setting?
Mysticism points to some truths in history that might be connected to technology. Is there a particular like judgment or discernment that you're trying to make?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out whether I think he is controlling the ship or something is controlling him.
I would say you could make that out. You have to get closer. I think you'd have to see his face.
I'm not. I slowed down, but I did not stop. So I am coming around. I think staff pointed like out at him, ready to like slam into him as I kind of try to come around the side and catch his eye.
Thank you for joining me. And he turns and looks at you, and you see just kind of a nicer older guy, bushy beard, captain's clothes, kind of warm eyes, little stressed out. We're in. I'm sorry this has occurred. I thought we would make it through the clouds before the brood awoke.
And what is this?
He waves, and what you start to see, and then as he waves, he also flicks on a terminal. He looks at you and like flicks on a terminal. Like I guess he's about to turn on the terminal. You're not going to hit him or anything, right?
No.
So he turns on the terminal, and all of a sudden you hear like, oh no, and it's just like a bunch of intercoms from other ships that are trying to make their way through, and some of the fire like, Amago, and there's just some cacophony of noises and explosions that he's picking up on his radio, and then he turns it off. The Century Brood has awoken.
Of course, this is not what I was talking about as I point out the window. This the wires coming out of his back, I point at, what are these?
He has on a robe and, some kind of ceremonial armor just on his shoulders, that kind of typical captain stuff you might see. He pulls open his robe and you see a cavity in his chest that's sort of mechanical. And it looks like he's been hooked up to the ship, but where there would be a heart is just sort of an opening of tubes and wires. This is Plan B.
Plan B, like
I don't have a heart.
So Plan A was you had a heart.
Having a heart, yeah.
And then Plan B was you don't have a heart anymore.
Well, not dying, yeah.
Is there a Plan C?
I hope not.
I hope so.
I guess Plan C is taking us all down safely.
Yes. How's that going?
I'm getting some serious issues with power. We're losing altitude quite quickly. I think there's something wrong with the front engine.
We can cut away for a second. That's great. I'm gonna head back down. Probably. I mean, we have whatever small talk we have, but we can probably cut away at that.
As you're heading down, you see Genmo standing in the doorway with his pistol raised, and we'll head over to the fight in. I guess. Do you want to give us a? I don't want to spend too. I want to get to our combat down and below. But what's Stelmer up to? Where did Stelmer end up?
I think Stelmer probably fled to the lower deck, and because there's just an engine on either side, right, in the mechanical deck. It looked like so. Yeah, I think he would have frantically climbed back up the ladder and probably gone towards on our lower deck map where it says like 9, 10, 11, like sort of the opposite side from where he had been waiting and sitting, just to try to get to like a smaller, more secured area before he can gather himself again.
And Stelmer finds Sippa limping out of the room, and we'll cut over there in a bit. But let's go to combat, because I'm sorry to delay that so long. So now we have our epic engagement with this giant cicada. What I think the cicada currently is not focused on you. It observes you, but it is intent on doing something with this generator as it tries to put its hands or I don't know what they have, appendages. There's almost like a barrier that's stopping it. You don't see any glass or anything, but there's resistance and electricity as it's sort of poking its arms in and trying to get closer to the generator. So you're gonna. You're firing. Yeah, you said you're gonna unload your clip, right?
Yeah, and I believe I can get 3d10 if I let go with all 3 barrels at once.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna do that.
All right.
Trigger discipline, not for Easelbread. And that is 12.
Okay.
Total.
So you loosen your rounds, and you see it. You actually fired, maybe not the best, but not the worst either. You're chipping away at its chitinous armor, and you see like a big chunk of it kind of, I said I wouldn't be too gory, but you see that now some like tender flesh has been exposed and some minor damage on the Imago's face. Did you all take a stress for starting combat yet?
No, but I will do that now.
So you've got your guns out, and you get an additional stress because you're fighting something that you're not eating. Unless I don't think you're planning on eating this.
No.
So Rye, what are you up to?
I think Rye is just gonna try to shoot off a round right after Isilbraid. That feels like it makes sense. They're not really super used to combat, so they're just like, I guess I follow you. I don't know.
Awesome. So why don't you roll for damage on your spore catalyzer, which is, let me look for the stats. You might have them on hand. Let's look.
Oh yeah, let me also pull that up.
By the way, legs. They have legs. They also have they're female ovipositors, which is basically a type of proboscis. And then some cicadas have ventral appendages at their first abdominal segment that are pluripodia.
All right.
Which you get
Well,
on
good to
plus
know.
1 EXP. If you ask a science
This
question, about dungeon fights, I'm going to answer it for you.
This message brought to you by the National Cicada Council.
By Cicada Mania, the website.
I love Cicada Mania, and we got, anyway, well, we can talk more about Cicada Mania at another time. But your sport catalyzer just does 1 wound automatically.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think, do you want to describe like what you did with the sport catalyzer?
Yeah, I'm
Well,
imagining it being like just kind of gigantic. So like I'm like just barely kind of keeping it up. But I believe I had kind of said that they were just aiming for its head. I think makes the most sense. Like they're just like, I don't really know about cicadas. It seems like the head's pretty important. I'm gonna go for that. Isilbraid also shot.
Here's
for
your
that.
little your spore catalyzer. It's like this bow thing that's electrifying and then launching the spore that you've loaded into it.
Yeah.
So I think the impact itself does some damage, but then there's just this growing acidic mass on this cicada's head that is very painful and causes the cicada to back up in pain. I think Onion doesn't have a weapon beyond their flare rifle, so they're going to fire the flare rifle for 1d5, and they did 1 damage. So the flare kind of hits what you did and bounces off, and there's like a little singe mark, but you can tell that this thing is in pretty bad shape, and it looks like it's in quite a bit of pain, unfortunately, for the cicada.
I think Rye just looks over at the other two. Oh, we did it! Like kind of a little surprised. I don't think that they really thought that anything good was going to happen here.
It looks at you, and Isilbraid, because you fired first, you feel this really strange sensation. It's as if the air around you is turning into a wave and you're thrown backwards. So let's see what it's going to do. 2d10 with 1d10. I'm sorry, with a psychic attack.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I forgot you said this is like the psychic center of the universe and that the chalk is used to do wild powers. That makes sense that they would have some sort of
so
wild ability.
it deals 3 damage to you.
Okay.
So I'm guessing it doesn't knock you off your feet, but you're sort of pushed backwards. Damage is, I would say, in Mothership and in Cloud Empress, it's sort of it's abstract until it becomes a wound, and you get to kind of define what that might look like. So that's a round of combat. We'll go to another round. What, Isilbraid and Rye, what are you doing?
Well, I probably can't fire my revolver again without reloading. But I do have another ace up my sleeve, because when I random rolled my gear, I have a spell
Nice.
at my disposal. I have the ability to throw flame.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I think I would like to do that.
All right. So to cast a spell, you're going to try to roll under your heart stat.
Okay. Luckily, heart is by far my best stat. And I got well under it. I got a 51 out of 64.
And then you'll roll for damage on throw flame, which is 1d10 with exploding die. Everything explodes.
That is an 8.
Awesome. So I think there is actually, with the spores that are happening on this thing, I think it ignites the spores and creates like an even worse chain reaction. So the imago sort of like flames come up and it sort of lumps down. You're not sure if it's dead or not, but it is not moving. I guess whenever you say you're not sure if it's dead or not, it could be dead, maybe not. Who knows? But yeah, it is up. You're at your action now, Rye.
Ooh. I think it makes most sense that they would maybe look to Isilbraid and Onion. Should I shoot it again? Is it dead?
Oh, you should definitely shoot it again. Yeah.
Okay. And then, like, that's the only like reassurance I need. I'll shoot it again just in case.
So why don't you make a speed check? The reason I'm asking you to do that is because I think it's a more difficult shot now with it being dead and near the generator.
Cool. Speed check.
Can't wait till you hit the generator.
What could go wrong? Firing in the engine room.
I failed that. Not by a whole lot, but I definitely failed.
Okay, so I think the generator explodes.
Good, nice.
So, gosh, okay, you're all gonna take. I think you're all gonna take 2d10 damage, unless you want to give me a reason why you should get 1d10 damage.
I'm very acrobatic.
Would I have battle casing as like the
So that'll
random
reduce
roll.
the damage that you've taken.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think
I mean,
other than that.
I feel like acrobatic could be a body save for 1d10
yeah.
damage.
Why don't you make a body save to maybe take half or something?
I narrowly succeed on my body save. 60
Awesome.
out of
Hey.
63.
Okay, so okay, so you take Isilbraid, you take 1 damage. The die has exploded, Rye, so we're doing another one.
Oh no.
So you take 11 damage, which would be 1 wound and a damage.
Okay.
And if you have your battle casing, it's going to take.
Oh right, yeah. So you might not take a wound. Actually, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Your armor reduces that 11 damage.
All right.
Okay.
Is that battle casing or is that battle casing more?
I think it's a 5.
It is.
Like
Yeah.
5? Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so you just 6
Your
damage.
battle casing's wrecked, but you are safe. So good.
It did
but
its
all
job.
all that like protect all that the rags and everything you were hiding, this like amazing battle casing or this armor is just like the rags are gone, the armor's all messed up.
It's a real Frodo Mithril moment for the audience.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Rye's definitely dead, and then extremely strong armor you're actually wearing.
Onion does need to take a wound though. So let's see what happened to Onion.
Oh no,
Onion about to get
protect
peeled.
Protect Onion at all costs.
Let's see. It is okay.
They were
where's my
so
magic?
excited.
4. So a wound that you had forgotten reappears. So I think Onion has always had maybe some real bad, like maybe they broke their foot when they were a kid, and so the blast like things hadn't healed properly, and so this wound to their foot has sort of reopened, or the break has rebroken. And again, said I wouldn't be too gory, but their foot's messed up. But this is a wound that is from maybe their earlier childhood.
Cool. Where am I when I hear the engine room explode? That's my question.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
you
I was
should
going to
all,
ask what that's like for us up top.
Yeah, I think.
And I'm fine with wherever because it wasn't there. That's the important thing.
I think should you all take 1d10 damage? 1d5
Up on the rest of the ship.
Yeah, from like I think the ship.
The whole thing shaking.
So I think you're not getting any of the explosion, but the actual ship like feels like it could fall out of the air in a moment, and you're all kind of like up in the air for a second. So why don't you both take 1d10 unless you want to convince me otherwise?
Do you want us to roll for it?
Yes, please.
I take 7, and I have duelist threads that would eat 3 of it, so I end up taking 4 damage.
Can I argue that I have incredibly high speed and be able to grab and react to something if I...
Yeah, do you want to make a speed save first?
Yeah. I rolled 20. Yeah, we're great.
Cool. So you're on it. Let me roll for Captain's buckled in, like he's part of the ship in a lot of ways. But Genmo, who is holding the gun on you, and Sippa also are going to... I think Genmo's going to make a save like you did.
Genmo, I've just been like, whatever.
Let's see what Genmo's up to. Genmo's pretty good at this kind of stuff, but you never know. So Genma rolled a 91. So Genma flings up into the awning of the doorway and drops there's a rifle over his back, but the pistol flies forward and he hits the doorway. Let's see how much damage he takes. He takes 9 damage. So let's... okay, so he took 9 damage. Let's see what his armor was. 8. Okay, so he is hurt, but is getting up fairly quickly. And Sippa also needs to take damage. Let's see. 2. Okay. Sippa takes another wound as she's flung up into the air.
Dang it, Sippa.
Let's see what wound she gets. So for folks at home, again, we're just rolling for the damage. If someone gets more than 10 damage, they take a wound and then their damage goes back to 0. And then we have a wound table that you just roll on a d10. If you get a 8 or a 9, really bad stuff happens. A 9 is sort of an instant end to that character's story in many ways.
In Cloud Empress, everybody has 3 wounds.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Yes. Player characters and maybe some characters if you want. If you're about to die, there's a chance that you're cursed instead of dying. So there is sort of this one, redo that can be kind of interesting. Sippa got a 7 on the wound table. Oh man. Okay. So a wound that horrifies those around you, all nearby humans roll a panic check. So Stummer, why don't you roll a panic check? If you want to take a stress and roll a panic check.
Okay. I just got done panicking. The horrors of the world outside of my manor have not been kind to me.
And if anything gets too intense or we're describing things too detailed, please let me know. But I think the one of the water containers has sort of landed on Sippa, and things don't look great.
Yeah, I was envisioning in my mind. I also won't describe anything gory, but you know how like in horror movies there'll be that like single frame of some horrific gore. That's what I imagine Stelmer looks. It's like I turn and it's like his brain perceives only a moment of it and immediately starts to...
Sippa, you'll never believe what I just saw.
I rolled a 5, so that was on the... Oh wait, I was rolling a panic check. Sorry, not a fear save. I thought I was doing fear save. Then here, let me roll. So my stress is at a 4. I rolled a 6, so I'm okay.
Cool.
But I do definitely still pull. I still pull away and look down and probably realize that I don't have my gun anymore and start to put myself together.
So there is now a pretty large opening where the engine used to be. Smoke is pouring out. The middle area of the ship, everything else, these things are built really well. They're built out of these pretty advanced technology materials. So the ship is still in the air, but it's sort of at an angle because only the rear engine and the sort of wings of the ship hanging above are holding the ship in the air. To chart your progress, You all are in the middle of the clouds. You see just sort of imago buzzing everywhere. The wreckage and horror of battle barges from the cloud nations sort of attacking the imago unsuccessfully as you're trying to make your way down through this whole mess. And everyone can see this, I would say, because you have the portholes, you have the giant hole in the engine, which Rye, Isobraid, and Onion could see. And then everyone on the top obviously has a pretty good view. Oh, I forgot to roll for Mempha. Mempha's in serious danger as well.
Mempha's on the upper open deck, right?
Yes. I just realized this die is not great. Okay. Mempha got a 1, so she I guess just bangs up, gets jostled around, but is not thrown off like I was horrified that she might be thrown off of the ship as it exploded.
I think I'm probably now calling out for Stelmer.
And
Okay,
I think
probably hear it
probably
from the lower deck.
Oh, I was coming back down, so like I am
Oh,
coming
okay,
down
sorry,
the
you're
stairs
saying
calling your name, and so
do you Genmo had been thrown and sort of is kneeling near the doorway. What do you make of that, Tremere?
which deck are we on now?
He's in the doorway of the captain's chamber.
And he's on the ground now.
He's kneeling, but he appears to be standing up.
I pat him on the back and I pick up his one gun that fell on the ground, and I just start pushing him along in front of me, like pushing him down below the deck.
Okay, and
so
I think
unless he's resisting, I very quickly like get my hand behind his like on the back of his clothing and like lift him and start pushing him.
Near the doorway, he points to Mempha and is like, "I'm grabbing her."
Okay, and I just toss him off towards her and keep on going.
Okay. So
having not returned to the pistol that I picked up.
Yes. So I think Onion, Ryan, Isobraid, are you all heading up too, maybe to that middle level? Or are you're down there? I don't know. What are you all doing now that you've successfully won but damaged the ship considerably?
Rye has mechanical repair. Would there be any possibility for them to try and do something with the generator, or is it like
it's
there's
missing?
just
Like
no
there's
way?
just a hole
Okay.
in the ship. I think you could maybe come up with a plan on how to keep the ship in the air longer, or like how to deal with this. But you would probably there's nothing to fix necessarily beyond the other parts of the ship.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, in that case, like maybe they'll head towards an area where they could maybe help to just slow down the fall, like the engine room or something, or the other side, just see if they can do something to help on that.
Okay. So you'll head back to probably the rear engine would be the way to deal with that. You know that you can supercharge these engines to increase their power manually, both automatically at the captain's chamber, but manually in the rear engine. So you might head to that. It's fairly simple to you. So you could, if you'd like to, you could make that adjustment.
Yeah, and I think they would mention it to Onion and to Isilbraid. I can maybe slow down our fall, and so I'm gonna head over here. I don't know if you want to follow me. I think they kind of do want people to come with them, but also don't want to directly ask for people to come with them. Having a weird social anxiety moment.
Onion's like, we have to get up. We have to get off the ship. Come on, we're screwed. Come
Onion.
on.
And I clap my hand on Onion's shoulder. Didn't you listen to Ray? We're gonna save the ship.
There's no saving what's going on.
Come with us.
So you head to the back engine, and the room is really hot. much hotter than the previous room, and it looks like the crystal in the back is sort of a darker red color than the other one. And Onion's like, Stella won't listen, but this thing's already running hot. We could supercharge it, but I don't know how much time we'd have.
Where's your confidence, Onion?
I lost it when I rebroke my foot.
That's where all the confidence was.
It was in my
That
foot, my lucky
sound
foot.
like the first man who left the Onion farm to find adventure. That doesn't sound like the Onion I know.
Okay. And I point over to the manual controls, and I'm like, these are the switches. If you really want to fire the engine up.
Yeah, I think for like a second when Rye walked in, they were like, "Oh, this is a really bad idea." But Isilbraid's just confidence is like overshadowing their doubt. They're like, "I don't know, someone more intimidating than me is speaking and is more confident, so maybe it will work."
You flip the switch, and the ship does seem to correct its position, which is great. You seem to be moving more quickly now through the air, sort of headed downward in a somewhat healthy angle. But there is large beams of that electricity. The field that was containing the other generator is not present here, and it's sort of like heating up and just sort of, it's not destroying anything necessarily, but the room is becoming really hot, and the containment field is sort of warbling, and things are porous, it looks like, in that invisible generator field.
Right, turns to Onion and Isilbraid. The most important lesson in mechanical repair: don't worry about that until it breaks. Let's go. Let's get out of here. It just like starts taking whatever seems like the fastest path out of here. I don't remember if this is the room with the ladder, but then
Yeah,
if it
so
is,
the ladder's in the middle.
probably climbing up.
Awesome. So I think you all are all now together again, finally, in the lower deck, except for Captain and Mempha and Genmo are somewhere above.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think after not having that moment of not panicking and diverting and gathering myself, I want to go and see if I can tell Sippa not to move and try to move this oxygen tank you said fell off, and then try to like
water tank, yeah,
or water tank, and then try to get her up enough to move. But when I see Tremere coming in, I'm just going to be like, I saw escape pods down below. We have to get down. The ship's falling apart.
Good. I thought I was going to have to convince you.
Not anymore. Let's go. And I'm going to try to get her up as much as you can to like bring her with us.
Knowing he is not, I sigh, and knowing he is not going to leave without trying this, I go over to try to help him also too.
Yeah, and I'm just going to Sippa, I'm just going to be like, come on, you said you had a lot of life left to live, right? Your freedom. Let's go.
So why don't you both make a strength save, unless you want to try to do it, or strength check, unless you want to try a different approach. Strength would be if you're trying to just like lift it up.
Yeah.
Although you might try something different.
I rolled a 10, so yeah, we're good.
Perfect.
On mine.
So you're
hold on. On my digital machine, I always forget that my D100 and my D20 things are switched.
And I think you roll with advantage. So roll twice and keep the lower result.
I rolled a 9 this time.
Even better. So even
I
better.
rolled a 3. I actually did it.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for Sippa.
So you pull that off, and you just see that Sippa's legs are like a hot mess, and I'm missing an arm too. So just sort of laying pitifully there, like, you know, not weeping, just biting her lower lip. You hear a Godzilla roar, like from the top of the ship, though, as the ship begins to rock again. Sort of like a.
I tell Stemmer, I've got this, and I get in front of Sippa and I lean my head against hers and say it's time, and then I snap her neck.
I wasn't expecting that. Okay, so you the surprises in this game. Okay, so you get a stress, and everyone around
That's
you
fine.
gets a stress.
That's fine.
Does anyone want to make a fear save or a panic save? I think
Stelmer. This is probably only Stelmer and I in the room itself. I think everybody else is in the middle section, and
I think so
we're in observation.
no, Sippa is now, unless you want to change
she moved forward.
Sippa came out.
Never mind, that everybody sees it happen.
I think you all understand the context of what's happening. That would be my unless you want to do something different with your character, but I think you saw what pain Sippa was in. Although it was pretty horrifying probably watching Tremere do that. But it was
certainly a practiced professional maneuver that nobody who wasn't paying attention would have thought too much about. But yeah, and I think Stelmare is probably very well aware that he has never seen this magician cast a spell the entire time he has known him. My heart score is below 20, and so
you're role playing
into it.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm just gonna take a bunch of because my speed is super high, so I just took a whole bunch of assassiny shit instead.
All right, yeah. So Sippa, goes blank, and Sippa's dead. Goodbye, Sippa.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of like wince as I notice that, and then just look to him and just be like, she wasn't slowing us down. It wasn't.
Yeah,
you didn't have to do that yet.
Well, she couldn't move. We need to go.
The one thing you do know, Tremere, is that the Imago eat dead bodies.
Yeah.
So you need to either get away from this dead body or dispose of it in some way.
No, we're going to get away from this dead body. That was, 100%. That is a piece of lore I did read, and 100% one of the other reasons I did this. And so, Onion, what are the options for getting off this thing?
Well, there's a scout thopter that fits 2, and there's let me think. Is it 2 escape pods that are currently working? I don't know what's going on with the first one. Escape pod fits 2 each.
Great. Let's
escape pod. Let's get to an escape pod to Tremere.
You feel the ship begin to turn course and lower much more quickly, and you also feel like things hitting the side of the ship as you're cruising down. So the Onion starts to limp back down towards the escape pods and wave steel.
There's not enough for all of us, right? There's 5 of us here, plus the captain, plus the 2 mascos.
Look, get to it. The first rule is you put on your own escape pod mask before you put on anybody else's. Get to a pod.
The first rule is nobody is left behind.
That's the second rule. Get to an escape pod, and then when they get there, we'll launch off. It's fine.
Brad, you got a moment of truth here.
Yeah, I think Stelmer, for better or worse, probably worse, he would think worse of himself for it, but I think he is just going into he is following the bodyguard's more professional direction. So I'm just following Tremere, head down, maybe a little embarrassed.
I think Rye looks at you. Rue's not here, but I think Rye has, and maybe Onion too, both look at you for direction. Braid, who have become like a moral, not a moral center, but an action center to decision making for those folks. They really look up to you, I think, despite your young age.
I'm going up top.
Onion literally is just like, I don't know. I think Onion is gonna limp behind you, Captain Stello. And maybe Rye is heading with too, I would say. Or I don't know.
We can quantum Rye until Rue gets back.
Rye is sort of, yeah, we'll figure out where they land.
All right, but I just letting you know this captain is going down with this ship. So if you can get the other two, that's great, but I wouldn't bank on him.
So
like as I'm going up the stairs, I'm calling back down. We're gonna save the ship.
Rue, the two Tremere and Stelma are headed down to an escape pod to escape, where Iselbraid and Onion are heading up to try to save the captain, Mempha, and Genmo. So I don't know what Rye would be doing in terms of between those two options.
Oh.
Both sides have very compelling arguments.
They do. I'm not joking. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a bad. Oh, and also there's something giant on the top of the ship. The ship has changed course, and there's stuff thumping on the side of it. So the state of the ship and Tremere, Mercy killed, such maybe not just killed Sippa because of
it was
how
a
badly
mercy
it would-
killing. There was
Okay.
a tender moment that passed between him and her for a second before he just snapped her neck.
So a lot happened. That's what we're saying.
I think Rye is like about to say, or is like trying to say, that they're gonna go onto the escape pod and gets like swept up with Onion and Iselbraid instead. And they're like, no, wait, that's not what okay.
Onion grabs your hand like, let's do it, Rye. I believe in us.
Oh, okay. And just like can't bring themselves to say no.
Coming up the stairs, you see an ancient imago. Many people didn't believe that these things even existed anymore. It is nearly the like half the size of the ship. It's tremendously big. Its carapace armor is covered in moss and lichen. It has a giant horn in the center with hovering lights surrounding it. So you all will need to make a panic check as soon as you see this ancient imago, because they are so rare and surprising and horrifying. So you'll roll 1d10, and you want to try to roll above your stress.
I do not. I roll below my stress.
Onion got a 0, so Onion's good. No,
Onion's amazing.
Well,
Onion is the hero.
Onion actually failed, but I think that 0 panic isn't terrible. Oh, actually, yeah. So the Onion, if you roll a 0 on the panic table, which is the same case with Mothership, you become focused and you gain advantage for it's 12 minutes. Onion's going to be like in the zone.
The Onion zone.
Yeah, Iselbraid, what
I
number
got a
did you roll?
4.
4. So you are haunted. You no longer reduce stress from sleep. So this won't affect you right now, but this vision of this ancient imago will come flashing in whenever you in your dreams for until you can receive some kind of treatment for that.
Okay.
I got a 6, and we wanted to roll under our stress.
High, above.
Oh, above. Okay,
Well,
I did roll above my stress.
Awesome. So Ryan and Onion are just marching on. Iselbraid, what are you doing?
I mean, there's definitely a moment, a pause, a pall over Iselbraid, but I would like to try and fight through it.
Maybe it's like a locked arms, like all three of you kind of marching up, like Wizard of Oz style, in the dark forest, and you see the captain laying in the doorway, disconnected from his terminal. I guess you probably wouldn't. Onion knows a little bit about that. You just see like a person laying, gasping for breath.
Is the ancient imago between us and the captain, or can we?
You can go. The ancient imago is like sort of ripping apart the back of the ship, so it looks at you, but you have not antagonized it in any way. So,
all right, then yeah, I'll run over to the captain and like, are you okay?
Oh no, They've taken control of the ship.
Who?
It's that wretched giant.
I knew I couldn't trust that one.
The door is open. You see Genmo piloting the ship and Mempha sort of sitting beside the doorway, defeated looking.
Fuck it, I kind of want to throw a hand bomb in.
Ever gonna have a better chance than now, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Mempha, run. And they're gonna hurl a bomb. Why not? We're not saving this ship.
Mempha like doesn't move. Mempha just like,
No.
I've failed. I've failed you all. I've failed myself.
Oh my God, get it together. I think Rye like tries to just grab him and like pick him up out of
I
there.
think, yeah, Mempha like sort of dazed stands up and starts to walk out, and Genmo looks over but has to really focus on piloting through this now massive swarm. You sort of see like a forest. This does not look like where you had intended to travel. So are you throwing the bomb in?
Okay, I should. I think I would make the threat first. I think that I have this built-in sense of idiot honor. I would say, big guy, you take this ship directly down, or I am going to blow you up.
I'm doing that. What do you think I'm doing?
You're taking us to a forest of some sort.
The feeding grounds.
Okay, yeah, no, we go away from the feeding grounds.
Not if we want an imago egg.
If you get any closer to a feeding ground, I'm blowing you up, and we are gonna crash straight down, which is, I think, safer.
Do you want to be remembered for ages? Do you want to have meals for the rest of your life? Think about it. One egg. That's all it takes.
Oh God, do I want to be remembered for ages? Is actually
This
kind
is
of
a kind of a good appeal
Yeah.
for you, I think. Yeah, a good character.
I'm not a monk. I'm a treasure hunter.
Rye gasps from the
If we beat the rest of them, which I think we can, we'll be rich. Never have an empty belly or a cold bed the rest of your life. I think Onion's helping Captain Stello up, and Onion's like, "What are you?" And Stello's like, "The ship, my ship." Why don't we cut back to while you consider your
so hard.
devastating moral choices? I think Tremere and Stelmer, you are making your way down. I think you have made it down to the bottom of the mechanical deck.
Yeah. Great.
You have not been down here, correct?
I have not.
Yeah.
Stelmer has.
Yeah, I would try to start leading or pointing towards the escape pods.
So you see 4 escape pods. What is your plan for?
I was looking for the Thopter if possible, though.
Oh, okay. Do you see a door similar to the door, like similar to the passageway that you came through in the bottom of the mechanical deck that you know leads down to the Thopter, or you suspect highly?
Cool. I'm gonna head that way.
I will follow. I start pointing at the pods because that's what I've seen, but then when he's not coming, I just
Nope. Let's
look down and go.
Let's try this instead.
You flip the hatch open and you head down the stairs, and you get to the point where, like Luke at Cloud City or something, the ladder goes down. You're sort of in this tunnel the wind is whipping past. You see this sort of giant unfolding scene. You see that you see the ground more clearly now. So you certainly couldn't fall this distance and make it. You still have maybe 10, 15 minutes before you will hit the land. But you do see sort of that you're not too far away from the end of your journey. The one thing though is the Thopter rocks. It's a tiny ladder, and then you'd have to kind of crawl across the top of the ship to get into the cockpit. So it seems incredibly risky.
You got this.
I look down at.
If you want to go up and grab one of the pods, let's go up and grab one of the pods, but make the decision quick.
I don't know if I haven't gotten as many things here as I felt like I've gotten, so I think we take the pods.
All right.
I'm just like flashbacking to me flipping out at the giant cicada and dropping my gun and falling, and imagining me falling off, splatting in this forest. I put my hand down to help you back up, Tremere, if you didn't already go down some.
Yeah, no, we can go get.
We just need to get to the ground.
I get him in the
We
pod.
can figure it out from there.
Make sure he's buckled really well. And I step back out of it.
Of course, I knew it.
I hit the button.
Okay. So based on the speed at which you did that, you did not look very carefully at the pods. They are quite old and have not been inspected in a very long time.
So you have a 1 in 3 chance that I put him in the wrong pod?
You could not mistake it for a non-working pod.
Okay.
There's one missing and 2 functional and 1 that's busted up.
Right.
But there is a roll a d10, Christian. Let's see what happens. On an 8,
I think that how I reacted is how Stelmer reacted as well.
On an 8, you're
Or is
severely
Tremere.
wounded. On a 9, you're dead.
Okay. I think the thing was like I'm like looking with anticipation, Tremere, for you to get in, and in the moment you start to go the other way, I just like shake my head a little and sigh. Like, why do I think
You
did
shoot.
that?
It's like a tube like a bank tube. You shoot out of the bottom, and
rolled a
ideally.
3.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah. Well, the thrusters take their intended course, and you are sort of lowered down through this mess of imago, probably fairly horrifying. But you land. It sort of blows air, and you sort of land on in the middle of a forest that you know to be sort of this ancient imago forest, but you are safe for the moment. Tremere, what is up with you?
I'm gonna go back over to the Thopter. It's like we're gonna make it as hard as for anybody else to get off of here as possible now. Apparently, yeah, I'm gonna go across the gangplank. I don't want to be stuck wherever we are right now. Is all I know, and so the ship that can take back off is way better than the ship that's gonna just go straight to the ground.
So, you're probably ready for this, but why don't you make a speed save to see if you fall off the ship?
Absolutely. That is a 55.
Oh, is that a critical success?
It's a critical success for me. Yeah, I've got in the 60s for my
Great.
speed.
So you just scale down that thing, flip the cockpit open, and launch off. So why don't you make one additional speed check to see how you pilot down?
That's a 53, which is a normal success.
So describe how you take your Thopter out.
So I think big thing I look for initially is I detach and I'm watching for where his escape pod lands. And then just for the cinematics, I'll pull back up right above the top of the ship just to see how things are going before I follow him down so we can cut over.
And you see this Godzilla like this giant imago that is very unusual in size, just sort of rocking the ship back and forth, and I guess you see them all kind of on the entryway like of the cockpit. And Isilbraid, we're waiting for your bomb decision, I think, or what? Yeah, what will Isilbraid and Rye and Onion do?
I think Rye is trying to, after also being a little confused, like you could also become famous for taking this treasure hunter down. You don't have to send us into this cicada feeding ground, Isilbraid.
I think you're right.
Rye has like complex feelings because they're not really sure if they were right or not.
So given that you're throwing a grenade into like a highly mechanical area from point blank range,
and then running, and then running,
and then running, you all limp down to the lower deck and you hear an explosion and the ship starts careening. The angle tilts down and you are like, you don't fall out of the sky, but you're like really rocking all over the place, and you have about 5 minutes to get off, or you're hitting the ground.
All right. And how many escape pods are still left? One?
There's two
You are not
left.
aware. You know that there were three. There were two functional ones when you left. One was jammed up, and the other one was missing.
All right. I guess we should see if we can make use of these escape pods.
Yeah, I feel like that's what Rye would do. I don't think they would think of anything else in the moment.
So everyone make a speed check as you head down the kind of precarious ladder as you hurry. You can roll at advantage, Braid, because of your acrobatics. Rye, I don't think you have any kind of skill that would help you down the ladder unless you name one. Onion and unless are any of you going to help Mempha or Onion in a specific way? Are they just going down on their own, or are you?
Like, if they fall or stumble, I will help them, but...
Okay. What order are you going down?
Oh. I think maybe Rye would be first in this instant, just to like get to the escape pods faster.
Yeah, I will take the last place. I will shepherd these people.
So Sipa and Onion, or Mempha and Onion in the middle. They're both going to make a. I think they're going to make. You can do strength or speed, Rye, in terms of like how you think you're going to get down. They're both going to use strength to see if they can just like hold themselves steady while they're heading down.
Okay, I rolled an 81, so either way, I failed.
What is Mempha's? Mempha rolled a 44. I need to consult my
It's either real
table.
good or real bad.
33. So that's a critical failure. Let's see what Onion does. 77. Okay, so they both fall on you, Rye.
God, 2 critical fails.
Yeah, they both fall on you, and you take, I think, probably 1d5 from Mempha and 1d10 from Onion because of the heights that they're falling at. So I'll give you 1d5 for Mempha. So that is a 5, so you'll take 5 damage.
Okay.
And then from
dead weight from her.
Onion, you're going to get 3 damage. So 8 total.
Okay.
And are you hearing? I'm getting an echo warning. Are you hearing an echo with my audio or anything?
No.
No?
Not on
Cool.
my end.
So did you take a wound, Rye?
Right now?
Yeah, with 8 damage. Is that gone over 10?
Oh, no, it has not.
Oh, nice. Okay. Although you fell as well, right?
Oh, that's true.
So you'll take 1d5 as well, just from a not terribly far fall.
Okay.
And you got a 2, so 2 damage.
Okay. 1.
And did you roll yet, Iselbraid, in terms of
Oh,
your...
yeah. I got a 24. So
you're just
24 out of
sliding
37.
down
I'm doing great, yeah.
into this mess that's this pile of people down on the bottom.
Okay, and then that's 1 wound for me.
And I can roll on the wound table, or if you'd like to, either way, whatever's easier.
Oh, yeah, I can do it.
Low is good on the wound table.
Okay, I got a 1.
Nice. So what kind of wound is that?
Let's see. A wound that knocks you on your ass. You may not act during the next round.
Makes sense.
That seems perfect. I'm just on the floor. I think I'm like trying to crawl up from under the other two. Isilbraid,
And
help.
they're climbing up as well. Isilbraid, what are you up to?
I'm gonna help these chumps back on their feet.
All right. So
Come on, everybody. We should get moving.
the generator that you had overheated is going to explode. You were in the other room. Remember, you supercharged the engine, and that's not going well. So why don't you all take 1d10 damage from that decision?
God, the ship.
Onion
Madness.
takes 2. Mempha got 0. Onion got 2 damage. So I think they're both good on wounds.
Yeah, I got 10 damage on that.
Nice.
So that
Okay.
is just a wound, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then I got 5 damage.
So you're
Oh
probably...
my goodness.
What happened?
I rolled a 7 on the wound table here.
Oh no.
What's a 7? Okay.
A wound that ends your adventure.
That would be that's an 8, right?
Is that an 8?
Yeah, at least on mine.
7's a wound that horrifies those around you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I think I printed out an earlier.
Yeah, I made it a little bit more forgiving.
Okay, excellent.
So how do you horrify all those around you?
Oh boy.
And Rye, everyone has to make a panic check around you as well, this is kind of the quintessential Mothership part of the game where
Everything
it's
start
like,
to cascade.
Yes, where it's just
Chaos.
I have an idea for a wound that will horrify everyone. If,
Okay.
Perhaps amidst all of this, I'm, still the closest to the top. Would this be a good time to just get slashed by an invading cicada just right across the whole of my back?
Yeah. They're looking for these. They're coming for the dead body in the escape pod. So now there is a juvenile imago jamming its way through, slashing you. So why don't we Rye, Onion, and Mempha will all roll a panic check now.
Yeah, I got a 7, and my stress is still 4, I believe.
All right, 8. Onion's going to panic with a 4. And that is... So Onion becomes haunted by the cicada wound as well. These cicadas are haunting everyone. So you all are not able to make it out in time with the panic, with the falling. But we're going to roll and see how... Normally what happens is the pilot gets to make a few checks to see how they crash land. The pilot has been exploded. So
And both engines.
Yeah. So what do you think the odds are that you would... Let's talk about the odds here. I'm thinking there's like a 30% chance you make it out unharmed, a 30% chance that you are take a wound, and a 30% chance that you die. Does that sound fair to everyone? Or do we want to fudge it either way? I'm very open to negotiations on this.
That sounds very fair, even whether I agree with the probability or not.
I say it's more. It feels
honestly.
more likely that at least wounded would happen.
Yeah. So that would. So I wish I could show everyone. So 0 to 3, you're going to be totally fine and very lucky. You might have hit some trees or something. Then that would be what 4, 5, 6 would be a wound, and then 7, 8, 9 would be death for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I think, okay, this is a 6. So the ship hurtles into the ground, smashes around, flips over, and you all take a wound. So we'll all roll on the wound table one at a time, and we'll see what happened to us. Who would like to do the honors first?
I can go first. Oops.
And this is just a straight... and you have 2 wounds?
I think I just have the one
Okay.
because
Just the one.
previously we
Well,
blew up
because
the
if you get
armor.
3, you're dead. You're dead immediately. So we're all gonna perceivably survive this part of the roll. So
Okay.
Rye, what'd you get?
I got I got 10.
Oh, 10's good.
Oh, wait. I got, okay, 0. Oh, yeah. So a wound that makes you drop what you were holding.
Okay.
Oh, dang.
All my stuff.
Isilbraid, what are you rolling?
I'm rolling a, oh God, a 9.
No.
All right. So it either ends your traveling or your life. So you no longer play this character. It's up to you whether you think this is just an injury that might, stop your adventuring entirely, or an injury that would kill you.
Let's go dark. Let's make it sad.
That's more okay, but you get to roll on the curse table now.
Oh,
So what happens when a character dies? Mostly the PCs, sometimes the NPCs. Your psychic energy goes out into the sort of alternate dimensions, calling forth different versions of yourself, different versions of reality for help. So the voices can choose not to listen, or they can intervene and change reality in some way. So why don't you roll a d10 on the curse table, and we'll see what happens. Low numbers are good on the curse table.
okay. That is a 2.
Okay, do you want to read it, or I can read it?
I will happily read this. Oh my goodness. You are changed into a chimera, half human, half animal. Bird, dog, serpent, cat, rat, wolf, hamster, frog.
So what kind of chimera do you want to be?
Rat, person, rat, person, rat, person.
So as you pull from the wreckage, Rye's helping you. Let's see what happened to Onion, and takes a wound. So let's see what happened to Onion. That is a, oh man. Okay, that's Onion died.
Onion.
Onion, we'll say Onion gets a curse too. Why not? But no one hears Onion's cries. They languish and fade from the world. Let's look what Mempha gets a 1. Memphis knocked down. So why don't we, Isilbraid and Rye, why don't you describe the wreckage that you emerged from? And then Tremere and Stelmar will give you a little outro as well. So why don't we do our little character outros as we move out from this horrible experience into the world of Cloud Empress. Anyone can go first too, as you think about what happens next for your characters.
I mean, I think I am like buried under wreckage for a while. So there is definitely going to be the dramatic moment of like some little bits of metal, bits of ceramic, bits of body scoot out of my way, and then I sort of dig myself up and out, and I am currently a rat person. I am still wearing rags. I look similar to myself, but covered in gray fur, long pointed snout, a brand new tail dragging behind, and like there is definitely a moment of looking at myself in confusion. Have I seen things like this happen before? Someone falls down so hard they turn into a rat?
It's pretty rare, but you have met chimeras before.
Okay.
Well, actually, you probably haven't. You've heard stories of chimera. Someone more worldly has, but they're not necessarily shunned, but they're really pitied, and they, so they're pretty rare in society, and they tend to keep to themselves.
All right. I think like I reach around in the rubble and I find something shiny enough that I can like look at my reflection. And if you can tell the expression that a rat is making, I am smiling, and I say, "Ah, Isilbraid the rat. This can work."
Great adventures to begin. Who's up next? Who wants to tell us? And you all, the crash happened sort of near the forest as well.
I think Rye kind of has just like crawled out from under the wreckage, and I think for like a little bit, it's just like, oh, we lost everybody. Everybody's gone. Like, I don't know where Onion is. And sorry, who else was with us? Mempha. Right?
Mempha's like maybe sitting in the wreckage. Mempha just got
Okay.
knocked down, surprisingly. So
Yeah. Okay. So I think maybe that maybe they help Mempha. Like at first they're like, there's no one, and then they see Mempha and maybe help him out a little bit. And then there's no Isilbraid, and they're like, no, not our adventurers, and has this whole like moment of like grief, and then maybe like out of the corner of their eye they start to see Isilbraid coming out, and they're like, no, now there are rats. First it was cicadas, now it's rats. And then I think when you announce yourself as Isilbraid the rat, they're like, oh, I see, you're cursed. Okay, that I have seen in my travels.
Trimmer and Stelmer, I know we got a glimpse of where they ended up, but where do you think the immediate future has them headed, or what kind of journey might they go on?
Stelmer, you land first, so what happens?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that I come out of the pod and look up and sort of see, I get to watch this whole crash happen in front and sort of take cover maybe from like dust or something that's blowing even as far out as I might be from it. And then just go back sort of shaky and wide-eyed or whatever and get my, like everything else that I was carrying with me basically that I had out of this, and then just take my journal out and I put the date, and then I put survived a shipwreck, and then I probably see the Thopter come down from Tremere, maybe.
Yeah, I actually think like you probably lose sight of the chopper, because I don't think I landed exactly where you are, because I think we were over the trees when you dropped. And so
I just see it go by.
Yeah. And then, an hour or two later, when you're getting all your gear though, and we see a series of flashbacks. I definitely took Cipra's crest and stuck it in your pocket when I was sending you down in case my worst plans went wrong. So I don't know what that crest looks like or is, or how Lord Link crests work. If you can just steal one from a dead person,
you can. Yeah, it's
I just have an extra crest. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think as you're probably going through that, you probably find it in your pocket, and you probably very much know how it got there.
Yeah.
As the audience sees through a set of like flashbacks after I snap someone's neck and then buckle you in and then step back from the door. Yeah. Then then like an hour or two later, I like just come through the bush and say, "Oh, you made it."
You did as well. Not that should surprise me.
You ready to go?
Suppose we should tend to the crash, but yes. This wasn't what I expected. I'm here, though. I hope my brother's watching.
Well, or like he had somebody watching over you, and then like we'll cut into the dark of the woods as we head off towards the crash.
And that's Cloud Empress. At least the last voyage of the Bean Barge, the introductory module. Yeah. Well, that was fun. Thanks for playing, everyone.
We're going to do our reaction roll. Reaction roll is a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator of a game that we just played and talked about playing that game. We just finished, as Watt said, playing Cloud Empress of Last Voyage of the Bean Bard, the introductory adventure in this Mothership Panic engine-powered ecological science fantasy game about giant cicadas, psychic powers, body chalk, all kinds of other good, weird stuff. Let's hear a little bit more about it from the creator. Watt, why don't you tell people a little about who you are, what you do, and tell us about what's going on, what Cloud Empress is, and then what your plans are for it over the next couple weeks.
Sure. My name is Watt. My pronouns are they, them, and I am the creator, designer, writer of Cloud Empress. You did a great intro for that. Cloud Empress is going on Kickstarter in Tuesday, January 17th. So it'll be up for about a month, and then there will be some other options too to get it later down the road. But really excited. The Kickstarter is going to contain the rule book and the introductory module we played today in a book together. But really the exciting part that not many people have gotten to see yet is a large hex crawl. So it's about 84 hexes. The introductory adventure that we just played, the module, really leads a group of characters into the world, introduces them to some key concepts, and then it's really up to them what they want to do, where they want to go, as well as the NPCs they may have encountered, that may have survived or may have not, will also have their own journeys through the world simultaneously that the players may run into. So one of the big things about Cloud Empress is it's really intended to be this expansive Nausicaa-inspired campaign setting. So tried to make this a really big product for folks to enjoy and really potentially play a campaign in. But there's also a lot of opportunity for one-shots like we did today in 2-hour sessions. I know it's hard to get a group together on a repeated basis. So there will be 5 sort of mini module adventures with single locations that have stories in them. And then I've also commissioned 5 adventure pamphlets from 5 different authors that'll be expanding the world of Cloud Empress. So it's not just my creation at this point. It's going to be sort of a collaborative effort with some of these supplemental materials that will each be an adventure at a new location and expand the world even further.
Awesome. Cool. Love it. Very excited about it popping up the itch and the follow page next to us so people can just get a sense of what's going on. If you go to that link, ttrpg.link/cloudempressGAME, it'll take you over to the itch page that has a lot of the information kind of aggregated for you. And you can head over to the Kickstarter and back it. We'll also update that link for folks as well. But you got a ton of people who are really excited about this game. I know some of them were on this stream list. But let's talk to our players about what their experiences were like. Laura, let's start with you. Why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, but most importantly, what it was like to play Cloud Empress.
Hi, I'm Laura Page Turner. I do make games. And what it was like to play Cloud Empress was fantastic. Oh my god, I had so much fun. And then I didn't even know I was going to get to turn into a rat person. But then I did. I'll be honest, I hadn't read the curses table beforehand. I was like, but that's not going to happen to me. This is a little introductory adventure. How bad could things possibly get? Who needs to know this information? And now that I'm looking at it, everything on there is extremely excited, and I want to be cursed as many times as possible. I had an absolutely wonderful time. I thought that was delightful and interesting, and it's a really weird world that I am eager to learn more bits about, knowing only the little kind of fragments that are currently available here on the Bean Barge.
Awesome. Do you have any questions you want to ask Watt?
Did the treasure hunter kill the person in the first escape pod, or was there some other reason there's a corpse there?
So I'll spoil it, right? So spoilers if you well, I mean, you just watched, probably most people just watched the adventure, but what's going on there? Sippa has an older sister. So Sippa is actually a clone of her older sister. She is the younger sister, and so she was the dueling sister. So her older sister would get in fights, conflicts with other lordlings, and then send her younger clone sister to duel. Eventually, Sippa loses this duel, gets pretty PO'd, and kills her sister and puts her in the escape pod. So she is now running from her family. In this case, Sippa did not make it, but had Sippa lived, her family would be chasing her down on the polluted farmlands below.
Wild. Okay.
But her sister's identical. So the sort of twist there is if you get the body out, you sort of reveal it. And oh my gosh, Sippa's here again. You know, there's kind of this reality testing moment that players might face.
Yeah. Or you might not even know, because if you know Sippa's hurt earlier, then you find a dead Sippa in the thing. You might just think,
yep,
same Sippa. Let's keep on going. It's a lot of fun.
Weird.
Love it. Awesome. Rue, how about you? Tell us who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Cloud Empress.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Rue. I do a lot of game design, writing, editing, stream production, actual play performing, lots of stuff. And I love this. Yeah, I had seen it around a little bit, hadn't looked too much at the pitch, and then when I saw it up for playing, I was completely sold. All the inspirations are right up my alley, and this is really great. I'm excited to play it again, and a great way to get back into Mothership too. Yeah, I don't think I have any questions in particular, but I'm excited to see more of Cloud Empress.
If you think of one, feel free to top them in. Also, if you're watching right now or later on and you have a question, go ahead and type it in chat wherever you're watching, and we will get an answer for you. Ask your question here live on stream. I saved Christian for last in this situation because I know Christian has been super excited of watching this develop in the Mothership community, and as a Mothership creator, especially one who likes big, cool hex crawl concepts. Christian, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Cloud Empress?
Yes, I am Christian Sorrell. I am a indie TTRPG writer, creator, fledgling graphic designer at times when it's for my own stuff. No one's paying me to do that. But yeah, people would probably know me as Meat Castle Gameware on like all social media stuff. I publish under that name, and then I also write adventures and stuff for other people too. Most of what I've done though is for Mothership. So yeah, I've been, Juan and I are both in sort of the third party Mothership community. There's like a Discord, that kind of thing. So this has been a thing that I have definitely had my eye on since the beginning. I think getting to play it, the thing that was really exciting for me even beforehand, because it's definitely one of the most anticipated Mothership things for me, is I think that there's something that just really, everything about even the bits that you've put out like publicly so far, I think just on like the look and the feel, even just like the specific wording, like ecological, science fantasy, those things, it just like really exudes this vibe and atmosphere that suggests a lot of exciting sort of lore and world building, but also it feels like it's all off kilter enough that it also makes me think that almost anything could be here, right? And then like probably in my version of bringing it to a table, almost anything could be there. It also helps that I like love things like Morrowind, and this feels very like a Mothership Morrowind mashup, like you said, Nausicaa, all those sort of like organic tech magic mixing together things. So actually getting to play it, I think is really interesting, because I'm glad that we used all the optional rules, because I'm sure that my question, I guess, at the end of my little spiel here to you was going to be, how did you come about sort of deciding how much to lean in to just the standard or away from it? I was glad that we used all those optional rules, because I had read a little bit. I had seen some of this beforehand you had sent me, and I love having that option of having it be compatible. Like it feels like this would be useful maybe if I wanted to insert little items, and I can use the loot lists and the weapon lists and things like that. But I think sort of like there's something exciting about the idea of this sort of sci-fi universe, like hopping from planet to planet, just almost like them being like little pockets of reality where it's like things work a little differently here. Like the Curses being a good example of that, of like the idea of playing a Mothership campaign and then you get to visit here, and instead of your person dying like they would have when they were in alien style horror 4 sessions ago, and instead they wake up a rat person instead, is like a big like, what is even happening in this world moment. So yes, it was a smash hit for me for sure. I'm really excited. But that would be my question, is how did you decide where you wanted to put the line on sticking to the core or shifting into your, making this almost standalone?
So I think the sort of one of the gestational pieces for this was, having a lot of queer friends that are new to TTRPGs that want to play D&D. Like, what do I give them? And so this is my sort of D&D, right? It uses a lot of the adventure tropes and the fantasy of D&D, but in a way that's more palatable to me. And part of that is there are just things that I wanted to speed up about Mothership. This is going to sound odd maybe too for Tony, but this is a lot of, I chose some mechanical aspects of this game to make it lean towards anti-violence. There's really, like many Miyazaki films, some consequences for violence that I really try to put into the gameplay. So the pieces around the optional rules really try to reinforce that. There is a really high, almost, there's a 10% chance you're going to miss a hit with a gun. So that really changes, I think, players' engagement with weapons. I assume it's going to hit. It's not this, well, maybe it will, maybe it won't. The same with some other aspects of the stress mechanics of Mothership. But one of the big things I also wanted to think about was accessibility in a lot of different ways. And I do know that there is a cognitive load learning a new game for both the warden and the players. And so I wanted to use a system that was established, that I was familiar with, which is Mothership. That's probably the system I most play, and that had a growing audience. And a really positive community. I mean, that's the other piece that I love about Mothership is there's a lot of intentional community design from the folks over at TKG around inclusion, accessibility, healthy community moderation. So those were all the things that led me to a place where I didn't want to stray too far from the Mothership formula, because that would create more work for folks and more cognitive load to play the game. That being said, I did want to change some stuff just to create this unique world, this unique experience, and to say some different things about sort of the messages underlying the world. The other piece I'll just mention, though, is the optional bit. This will be in the core rulebook, but players can take existing Mothership characters and just drop them here. Hey, our ship crash landed here. We're in this new world. You could use the Marine, the android, the scientist, the Teamster. You could bring those characters in. All the weapons and the enemies are going to be super compatible. You can choose to use the combat rules or not. That'll be up to you. The other thing you were mentioning, Christian, is one of the things I thought about too as another potential hook is this could be a place for your dead characters to go. So when you lose a character in Mothership, they come here. One of the probably niche inspirations is a film called Angel's Egg, which is this sort of blended reality dream world. And so one of the things you mentioned, Christian, that's really intentional is I think some of the best RPGs feel like there's no wrong way to play them, and particularly around the lore. And that's part of the reason why I did these pamphlet adventures is I don't want to be the expert about this world. This world is so amorphous, changing. There's I call it slipperiness, which is sort of a play on some Stephen King terms. But the world gets slippery, and so whatever you bring in, if there's a Beatles CD that you find, if there's a lawn flamingo, if somebody comes from the past or goes to the future, all these things kind of fit in the world. But creating a world that can accommodate that in a certain way was something I really wanted to do, and would allow more flexibility for how people might want to use these adventures and the map itself.
Yeah, I think that's an interest, because I've been thinking about sort of that place of fiction and lore and world building and some of my own stuff I'm working on. And I think that's a really interesting way to lean into some of the same end results that Mothership they're big on the anti-canon approach, everything kind of exists and doesn't exist. So you can do that. It's this is the opposite side of that coin, but you can use that coin to pay for the same stuff. You know what I mean? I like that I'm going to have a setting book, because I kind of miss that being as immersed in as Mothership as I have been. I kind of miss that. Give me some lore and world building separate just from what we purely make at the table. And yeah, I feel like what I've seen so far, it seems like you struck a good balance of that, of going, we have that, but it's totally okay if you also are cooking up your own things as players at the table, which is really cool.
Lore at vibes level is kind of my favorite, where it's there's enough here for me to be able to grab onto things and have some mental handholds more than just touchstones. And I think this kills it. I had a blast. I knew I would. Was super excited. Great group to play with also too. Rue and Laura and Christian, y'all were tremendous co-players, and Watt. Thanks for coming and running for us and showing off the game. I had an absolute blast. And everybody who's in the chat, thanks for showing up also, too. Just a reminder, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in. This will be your last chance in the next little bit for us to get it live. But otherwise, ask them in the chat later, and we'll get it over to Watt and get an answer for you if we don't know it. But I had some of the same, some similar questions. One of the things I noticed, the stats, though I have the lowest stat I have ever had in a Mothership game in this one, and it was the primary stat my character needed to be able to do their function. The stats are overall far more forgiving. I had, on average, the highest set of stats, even with that said, out of all of them. And that made it, hearing what you said about it being introductory for people also too, I think having that extra 10 higher stat on average basically makes it a little bit easier for somebody being okay, I'm going to succeed often enough on this for me to not just be beating my head against the wall, which if somebody hasn't played an RPG before, the amount of failure you can roll in Mothership very early on for a character is substantive. And so I thought it was really interesting to kind of look at some of the different changes, but a lot of them came from the introduction of your age piece. Like that is really where a lot of that swing came from. They were a little higher on average, but then like you ended up with these pluses and minuses, which is how I got my lowest stat ever for some of them. And I really liked the age piece in there. Tell me a little bit about that decision, if you would, like adding in the 4 different age groups along with the 4 different classes.
Yeah. So, tickle in my throat. We'll see how I get through this. The ages were, I see age, people pick different ages in Mothership when I play with them, but it always feels a little incidental to me. And it maybe doesn't inform the character's actions in play. And it's just something I was thinking about, as there's so much in character generation that age not being included in many settings is just kind of an interesting thing. So there are some generalizations about age that the universe makes that may or may not be fair. You're younger, you might have a bigger heart. The world hasn't beaten you down as much. You might get more, wisdom and things as you age. If you're a body hopper, which is a whole other thing, you have some extra strength, but you're kind of a zombie in some ways. But it was really looking at some of my, Howl's Moving Castle in particular. A lot of what is here is designed to create a party that could happen in Howl's Moving Castle. So it's a diverse age group, a diverse set of experiences. Somebody could be a chair or a scarecrow or something, if they're cursed. So really thinking about how I might create that party in a substantive way that also would impact gameplay, and also try to think a little bit about how I could twist that character creation piece.
And I actually really liked the ad about violence that you put in there. Like, I think, especially when you're playing like you hit, like it happens a lot of the time, like it's just gonna, like we're gonna streamline this a little bit further. Having the function also of like, but violence is inherently disconcerting whenever you choose to actually engage in it and apply it. I love that vibe, and the fact that you're just going to basically force yourself to panic, potentially get more haunted, have a lot more trauma as you inflict more violence on the world around you, is a really interesting play path. And like I said, mostly I was like, I've got a really high speed, and a really low heart, and so I'm just going to lean into some of these other skills. It was a really fun thing to have as a choice, because also the skills aren't tiered out in Cloud Empress in the same way that they are in Mothership. So you are a little bit more capable of just saying, here's the grouping of skills I want. And things like assassination and some of the other one feel really broad, like military training and hacking and some of the things that you get in Mothership. So there's a lot of other skills that can be very defining, along with some like string instruments versus wind instruments, which in the type of setting has really good vibes, but also dancing is a skill. Needlework is a skill. Things that you're like, kind of like, they say a lot of things about the world in some very, very unique ways that I think added a lot. I would love to hear, I think, a little bit more also about like, are there lore reasons or world building reasons that kind of went into some of those skills, or how did you decide the skills you wanted to kind of shift around?
So the skills were really fundamental, obviously, to sharing the world. One of my least favorite things is like lore dumps in books, where you start with, at the beginning of time, there was this and that, and I really wanted lore to come from play. And so what kind of things happen in the world? What kind of experiences are characters having? What kind of skills are they bringing? So I spent maybe 3 months on the character sheet, and that was the gestation of the, real core of the game. I went from 25 classes, and each class had some of these skills, and so there's a 25 class version of this. And I really came back to the core of Mothership around, and which is inspired by D&D and a bunch of other things, where these four beetles, there's four different archetypes there, but also thinking again about nonviolence, and also one of the big things you were talking about, the stress system. My experience, Mothership is, and I have a shore leave module that explores this a little as a solo game, but a lot of Mothership is focused around the horror in the moment. And this really looks at the way you reduce stress is through a good meal, a full night's sleep, a good company and good conversation, a peaceful hour in nature. And a lot of that comes from Wanderhome was a big inspiration, and just some of the gentleness and tenderness of Wanderhome. I think that's tried to be embedded in here, but the world, I spent a lot of time reading about Hayao Miyazaki and his interviews, and he has director comment. He's written director statements about most of his films, and I think what I appreciate most is his unflinching look at violence and horror, and those come from his direct experiences with World War II. And even in a movie like Howl's Moving Castle, that's the thing that I think is really missing from a lot of the conversations about Miyazaki right now, particularly in the role-playing game space. And games do different things. I'm not criticizing certainly anything anyone else is doing, but there's this cuteness factor that has really become associated with Miyazaki. And even something like My Neighbor Totoro was horrifying to me as a child because of the mother's illness, the chronic illness that the kids contest with. Howl's Moving Castle includes a firebombing scene. Nausicaa includes, I'm thinking about going through and like counting the body count, but hundreds of people die in that film. And again, it's presented in a more adventurous way, and it's not necessarily meant to be a horror movie, but that's the kind of piece of the horror connection to Mothership, is that war is horrible. Ecological devastation is horrible. So how do I balance that without it being nihilistic? I think that's the other piece. Climate change is on my mind a lot. And there are a lot of games, and again, not a criticism necessarily, but a lot of games talk about the end of the world in a nihilistic way. This sort of presupposes that we're going to live long beyond what we're comfortable with. And so how do we create, humans are resilient. And so what does our resilience look like at the end of the world and beyond, and the end of our current world? And how can we explore new ways of being and new cultures and new ways of being in harmony with nature? That's sort of the big stuff, but that's what I tried to capture in like bonds with animals, dancing, fireworks, some of those Tolkien-esque things, that are tender and kind, that really ground the Lord of the Rings. I mean, the hobbits, I tried to put some of the hobbits in the skills as well. So that was a really long answer, but that's some of the stuff.
No, that's great. I mean, we do need to get you back on at some point for a longer interview about that, because that is such a great, rich vein of conversation. But launches next Tuesday, because I know we've got a hard out here in just a couple of minutes.
Yes.
People should go check it out. If you go to ttrpg.link/cloudempressGAME, it'll take you to the itch page, which you can link over to the Kickstarter for. We'll update that link later on to go straight to the Kickstarter also too. But I had an absolutely phenomenal time. We've got a bunch of Zine Month stuff coming up, a lot of great games coming up in the next little bit. So we are going to say goodbye, and we don't have a good way to end streams. And at this point, we're not even going to interested in finding one out. So we're just going to wave at the camera until I take us off air. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.